So when we first started our podcast, it was how long ago?
A month ago?
Was it a month ago?
Yeah,
about a month ago.
Yeah.
And before that, me and Adam have been going to, the gym. So it's the Blackpool Sports Centre. So we've been there for 2 years, would you say?
Yeah.
So we noticed you straight away.
Yeah.
So we've actually
Why?
because, and this is the reason why, and this is why it's so crazy. And I wanted to get this point across is because you go in the gym and you're there, and you've got your head, you literally you're going for it on the bike or whatever you're doing. But you're the one that's like singing to Smooth FM or Heart FM, and you can hear you singing. You walk around and everyone's face lights up.
Yeah.
You actually walk around that you've got a natural rhythm. Like a little bounce, like this.
I'd describe it more as like you've got a zest for life.
Yeah.
Like really have.
It oozes out of you.
Yeah.
It really
and I
does.
love that. I absolutely love that.
And me and Adam have spoke about it, and we've been like, oh, that guy in the gym. So we've literally spoke about you so many times. And like, obviously we wave at
you
each
and
other.
I spoke once, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. Yeah, I almost spoke about the podcast. I thought, I don't know if you should mention it, but Vic.
I actually told Deborah that.
Okay.
I've spoken to one of the chaps at the gym today who spoke to me, which surprised me,
Yeah. Well, it took us a while to do it, and obviously I'd wave at you and everything, and then one day I came up to you and I was like...
You said, I don't know your name.
I said, what's your name? And you said Gerry, and then literally, so this was 2 weeks ago, and then we got talking, and literally I phoned you up from work, didn't I?
Yeah.
You was in work, and I said, I've got him. I was like, we've got Gerry. His name's Gerry. I said, he loves life. I said, and when you told me what you did, literally, I was like, this was all fate that this has all come together. And I'm so happy.
Definitely.
So happy.
So thank you very much for coming on, Gerry. Thank you.
Let me say, I'm thrilled that you feel that I'm worthy to come and do something for you. And I'm embarrassed at what you've said. But,
no.
Let me just tell you a little story prior to my going to the gym there.
Go on.
Heart bypass.
No.
Yeah. Yeah, there it is. Look, there's the proof.
Oh my God.
Oh, wow.
Out of the blue. And I told the doctors at the time because they couldn't understand it.
Yeah.
Because I was still footballing, I think, or whatever.
Yeah.
And they went, God. And I did all the tests. No problem. But I still had this pain, so I'm going to have to give you an angiogram. And of course, it shows that you need a heart bypass, triple heart bypass. And they went, I can't understand this. And I said, well, I've only got one explanation for it. And they went, what's that? I said, it's a broken heart.
Oh.
I said, Linda died 2 years ago. And the funny thing is, on the 7th of December 2003, we were at the hospital and Linda was told, with me there, you've 6 months to live. Mortified. Anyway, move on 2 years. 7th of December 2006, I'm at the hospital having an angiogram and they tell me you need a triple heart bypass.
Wow.
Unbelievable.
So how many years was that apart, sorry?
2.
2 years.
2 years, wow.
On the same day.
No, the same date.
The same date?
Yeah.
Same date, 7th of December.
I didn't click onto that, wow.
Yeah,
That's
7th
crazy.
of December. Yep.
Oh.
Anyway, had it, this, that and the other. Went on the rehab course, which was run by the hospital at the gym, funnily enough. Good, that was quite good. There was one funny incident in that, and I got on very well with the sister. She took the mickey out of me. Okay, I don't mind, because I think they like to latch onto somebody, don't they?
Yeah,
And she latched onto me, and she'd always tease me when we were doing exercises or whatever. And she put me in the main group, which the best group, as it were. I'm not having you down in the 3rd tier kind of thing. Okay. So that went well. And then I had to go to a one-to-one course with a guy at the gym. And I didn't want to go. I thought, I don't want to go. But then I thought, all they've done for me, the least I can do is go and be willing. So I went, and he was a great bloke. He's moved on now. He works in Blackburn, lives in Lancaster, comes to see me every time he's in Blackpool. He's a cyclist. He comes every time. Anyway, it's a 6 or 8 week course. Get on the course. I'm on it 18 months. He wouldn't let me go.
Wow.
He said, would you mind staying on this for a while? I said, why? He said, well, I need a leader. He said, and I've got one. I said, if I let you go, he said, I'm going to have to work much harder to get everybody into the,
I see. Yeah.
Amazing.
And I got the nickname from everybody, each course,
Yeah.
Speedy.
I get that.
Speedy.
I get that.
Because that's you on that
On the bike.
on that bike every morning. Honestly, you put me to shame. I walk in and I think I'm 40, and I didn't know your age. I still don't know it until we speak about it. But I was like, if I'm like that at your age, hats off to you, because I just couldn't do what you do. Like, that's incredible.
Yeah, I did 18 months with him until the course folded.
Yeah.
And he moved on, and he sent me up to the gym. He said, I'm going to send you to the gym, give you a little workout, and do this every day, or, whenever you want.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, I'll do it every day, because I've been doing the other every day. I'll just carry on.
Mm-hmm.
I said, but it's not a good idea. Why? I said, because I'm an idiot. I said, I still think I'm 21.
Yeah.
I still want to beat yesterday's time or whatever, And he said, oh, no, you'll get over that. So I go up to the gym, and for about a week, I did what he said, and I kept thinking,
could do a bit more.
Yeah. What's this all about? So this particular day, I thought I'll go round and do it all again. So I went round and did it all again, dead chuffed, till I got home. And then I got home and I felt so awful.
Oh, no.
I rang a friend of mine who was a retired GP, Peter Smith. Peter, I said, I'm afraid to say something's happened to me. Why? I said, I'm so ill. I feel awful. He said, what have you done? I said, nothing. All I did was go around the gym twice instead of just once. Oh, my goodness, he said. You've lost all your blood sugar.
Oh,
He said, you better get stuff into you quickly so that we can get it replaced. Yeah, I've never done it since. Well, I've never done it to that extent since. Yeah.
But just for everyone at home, because I don't actually know, how old are you then, Gerry? If you don't mind us asking.
Well, when the doctor or somebody says, give us your date of birth, right? I always go, 25th of March, 1946. And they go, sorry, what was that? So I go, 1946. My birthday is 25th of March. I'm 79.
79. Wow. Honestly,
Again,
if I act like you at the gym, I'd be well happy at 79.
Amazing, Gerry. And can I just say that we're all Aries? Because your birthday is 25th of March.
Yep.
Mine's the 29th of March, and yours is the 14th of April.
Well,
all Aries.
Amazing, because Linda's an Aries as well.
Aries are the best.
Incredible.
She's the 4th of April.
Incredible.
Oh my God.
Deborah just missed out. She's the 1st of March.
Oh,
Pisces.
Is she?
Pisces, yeah.
Wow.
We're all Aries, 4 of us.
Yeah,
that's incredible.
Linda,
I love it.
Incredible.
We're all Aries.
Magic moment.
So take us back right to the beginning, Gerry, because I'm absolutely all in on this story. So tell us about your first memories.
Gerry.
Yeah, life is Gerry, but your
Growing
first
up.
memories growing up. What was like your first memory growing up?
First memories. Well, our family, it was just my mum and dad and me.
Right.
My dad had, what did he have then? 2 brothers and a sister.
Mm-hmm.
Sister sadly died. And my mum had 2 sisters and a brother. But neither of them were committed to their family like some people are. I mean, don't get me wrong. They loved them and they enjoyed seeing them, but they wouldn't hang out with them. But they were both working all the time with no money.
No.
And I might as well tell you to start with, my mum and dad at the time weren't married.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I went to their wedding when I was 22.
I went to my mum and dad's wedding.
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you did, didn't you?
Yeah, it's a weird experience.
Yeah, isn't it?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Isn't it?
I think I was about 22 actually as well.
Yeah, I was 22.
Yeah.
And when we're in the registrar office, the registrar said, right, Rita Wolstenholme, Walter Wolstenholme. And he looked at me and said, what's your name? I went, Gerry Wolstenholme. Oh, right. Then he looked at Linda and said, and what's your name? And she went, Linda Wolstenholme. And he went, hang on a minute, are you taking the mickey out of me, you four? No. And the reason they didn't get married, my dad had never bothered, because he was quite laid back.
Yeah.
He never bothered to take it any further. They just parted.
Right.
But one of my early memories, but not, I'll give you one earlier in a minute, but even when I was about 6, 7 or 8, there was an office in Cookson Street where my dad would give me a book and he'd give me £1.08 and say, take that to that office, you see. I never knew what it was. I used to just go into this office and stand there and go, I've got to pay this in, and they'd mark it in the book, £1.08. It was the alimony, £1.08.
Wow.
What's an alimony?
I basically paying for the split of the marriage.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah, £1.08.
Do you know what's crazy though? My dad had an office on Cookson Street.
Did he? He wasn't. What was he?
He was a mortgage advisor, so yeah, he had a shop on there. Crazy.
Yeah.
Wow.
Did it have green windows or anything?
No. It was. I can't remember it if I'm honest with you. No,
but
crazy.
that was an early memory. But
Yeah.
one of my earliest memories, with no money. In fact, I'll come to a story a little bit later when I pass the 11 plus and going to the grammar school and that, which you'll see how little money we had. And my mum worked 2 jobs to keep the house going.
Wow.
And my dad was a master baker by profession, and he was a brilliant, absolutely superb. And not because he's my dad. Everybody knew that, and all his friends' wedding cakes, 3-tier wedding cakes and everything. Because there was one occasion he was making a 3-tier wedding cake, and I can remember the name of the person whose wedding it was because they lived in the next block to us, Beryl Pilkington. A 3-tier wedding cake, and I'm a young kid, probably 5 or 6. And my dad keep out of the way because his designs for wedding cakes. You know how they do webbing, or they used to do.
Yeah.
He was magnificent at it. Anyway, he made these cakes and he put them in the lounge where I'd been locked away, kind of thing.
Oh no.
Yeah. Oh no's right. So he came in after a while, and I'd very nicely gone across the top of the cakes. 3 of them. Yeah.
No.
Oh, he wasn't happy, as you can imagine. But my dad wasn't the sort of, he didn't belt me or anything. My dad never hit me, ever.
Yeah.
My mum did.
Yeah.
My mum, somebody needed to keep you in line, didn't they? And I'm not criticising her or complaining, or
No.
it's not made me into a psychopath or anything. And so he did them again. And I did it again.
No, you didn't.
I did.
Oh.
I did it again.
You're trouble, Gerry.
Oh, I did it again.
I hope he got the belt out then.
No. My dad didn't. Because my mum used to say, if I'd do something wrong when my dad's at work, my mum would say, I'll tell your father when he comes home. And I used to think, well, I don't mind that because I don't do anything. Yeah. So that was an early memory, the cakes.
Yeah.
But the reason I said we'd no money in that, for some reason, my dad decided to send me, because he'd not had an education. He'd left school at 12 and started work straight away. And he sent me to a little private school in Springfield Road in Blackpool. I don't know whether you know, it's just off the prom. Northlands it was called, and I've got a photo of me as a little tot with a black and white scarf on,
Ooh, fancy.
Yeah. So why he did that, I'm not really sure, but I did 2 years there. So by the time I went to Devonshire Road at sort of 5.5 or whatever, I could read, do sums and so on and so forth. So it set me off quite well.
I think that's what he wanted to do, isn't it?
Yeah,
Just give you the
he wanted
best
me to
start.
be better than him.
Yeah,
better
I
than
love
what he
that.
could have. Yes.
Yeah, I think that's what every parent wants, don't they? Really, if
Yeah.
you can,
Yes,
if you can,
you do, don't you?
Yeah,
you do.
Yeah, you want the best for
Yeah.
it. So it was just yourself then.
It was only me and my mum and dad.
Right, fair enough.
And the reason they got married, you won't remember this because it's before your times, but 1972, I think it was, they changed the law about getting divorced.
Right.
You did not need to go through all the procedures. If you'd not seen the person for 7 years, no problem, divorce. So they divorced and my mum and dad got married then.
Ah, right,
Wow.
okay.
Yeah,
Wow.
amazing.
That's crazy. So, obviously, you was born and bred in Blackpool.
I was.
You've lived here your whole life then, I assume. Did you move
12
anywhere?
years in London.
12 years in London. Ah,
Yeah.
wow. Well, we'll get to that.
Yeah.
So, obviously, I know because I know a brief history about yourself. So, cricket, sport being like a massive thing in your life. But so how did you go from, say, school to get into cricket and then the career that you had? What the progression was there?
The first sport I played and the one I played until I was 45 was football, obviously. And Derby Road had a football team, so I played there. Because I can remember probably in the 3rd year of the juniors, so what would I be then, 9, something like that.
Yeah.
There was a school match, and my form teacher was a guy who I'll come to in a minute, Mr. Terry, and in those days you called your masters Pop. So he was Pop Terry.
Pop Terry.
And the headmaster every morning at assembly would read out whatever was going on, activities of the day or whatever, and there'd been a game, and he said about this game against, I've forgotten who it was now, let's say St George's or whoever it was.
Yeah.
And he said, and the star of the match was Wolstenholme, you see. And I can remember Pop Terry laughing as though to say, yeah, either I'm not surprised or I can't believe it. I don't know
Which one?
But yes. And he said something to me that I didn't know what it meant. He called me Quicksilver. So I thought, I wonder what that is. So I came home and I said to my dad, hey, Dad, what's Quicksilver? He said, why are you asking that? I said, Mr. Terry mentioned it today. I said, and I didn't quite understand it. And he said, well, Quicksilver, he said, it's a metal that never stops moving.
Wow.
I didn't actually know that.
No, I didn't. I thought it was a cowboy.
It's a metal that never stops moving.
So you was very fidgety as a kid then, was you?
Not fidgety, perhaps, but active.
Yeah.
Active. Yeah. And I've written that in my poetry book. I've written it in the introduction, saying how perceptive Pop Terry must have been to have picked that out. And he did something else as well. I never won a school prize, although I was always in the top 10 of the exams and everything. So much so that I went to Baines Grammar. Well, to get to Baines from Blackpool in those days was an achievement because they only took the cream.
Right.
Because it's a filed school. So it's out of Blackpool Borough. So they only took 10 Blackpool kids each year. And my dad was mortified when he discovered I'd put Baines down as my first choice. Not for any other reason than Blackpool Grammar School was at the end of our street. And I could walk there. It was tuppence each way on the bus. And my dad went, that's costing us tuppence each way on the bus. You could walk down to Blackpool Grammar. And I said to my dad, I can remember it vividly. I said, Dad, I've played football all my junior school. I'm only 10 or 11. I'm just 11, aren't I?
Wow.
So I said, I've played football all my school life. I'm not going to a grammar school that plays rugby. I said, I don't want to play rugby.
Yeah.
I've no interest in rugby. I have now, but I had no interest in rugby. So I've got to Baines. Not only was it tuppence each way on the bus, but because of its school being, I don't like the word posh, but more upmarket perhaps than the Blackpool schools, the uniforms were dearer.
Oh,
so my dad was shelling out extra money,
making more cakes.
Oh God! And you mentioned obviously that money was difficult.
Oh, it was.
Well.
It was.
Was it just after the war then? Pretty much. So obviously that whole regeneration period was
and
difficult.
My mum and dad's situation in those days wasn't like it is today because nobody bothers today. I was just saying to Vicky before, when Deborah said she'd get married for the second time, I said, don't. I said, just live with him. No, I want to get married, she said. So I said, okay, fair enough, get married. Yeah. So even some of the neighbours where we eventually lived, my mum and dad lived apart to start with. My dad lived with his mother and my mum lived in Bloomfield Road where she did a cleaning job or whatever it was in those days. And I vaguely remember, I know it sounds daft this, being in a pram outside the house there somewhere when my mum's inside cleaning or whatever. Yeah. So that was an early memory.
That's a very early memory, isn't it?
Yeah. I perhaps don't remember it, but I do somehow. I do seem to remember that.
Yeah, it's weird the memories we store back and they just pop up randomly.
We were saying about that.
But my mum then got a job in RHO Hills, which you won't know, but it was a... what do they call them now? Superstore in Blackpool. And she got a job in the accounts branch there. And because there's a nice story about going to RHO Hills a bit later. Even then, I was still at Derby Road, I think. Yeah. Hopalong Cassidy was coming to town. Do you know him?
No.
I don't,
He's a
unfortunately.
cowboy. He was top of the pops of a cowboy when I was a kid. William Boyd, he's called.
So he's a singer,
No, he's
an
a
actual cowboy.
cowboy.
Oh, like an actual
He
cowboy.
played, he played Hopalong Cassidy in the movies.
Oh, I'm with you.
okay.
Yeah.
And he was coming to Blackpool. And he was visiting R.H.O. Hills.
Okay.
So my mum said, I'm going to take you in with me tomorrow because Hopalong Cassidy's coming. And I was a cowboy and Indian fan.
Yeah.
Fighting away in the streets, bang, bang, Oh, I'm not playing you dead and I've killed you and you're not dying, Yeah. We always had all that. And so I go in to see Hopalong Cassidy. I can remember this vividly. You'll see why. And he wore a black outfit and he had his cowboy outfit on and his guns there. And my mum said, this is my son, Gerry, So he said, hello, Gerry. And I said, do you play cowboys and Indians? And I went, yeah, of course I do. Yeah, dead chuffed, yeah. I'm speaking to Hopalong Cassidy. I've seen him on the, he'd be on Saturday morning pictures and hooray when he came on. Baddies came on, boom. Yeah. I said, yes, I do. He said, have you got guns? I said, yes. So he takes one of his guns out of his holster and says, well, have a look at this. And he gave it me. Bear in mind, I'm still under 11.
Yeah.
Must have been about 9 or whatever. He gives me this gun and it's weighed a ton. I'm used to plastic guns.
Yeah.
He gave me this and I can remember going, ooh, nearly dropping it. Yeah. And he put it back and then we chatted a bit more. Then I was going. So I went to the lift, pressed the button for the lift. As it arrived, I suddenly felt myself being pulled back. And I thought, what's going on? And he'd lassoed me from where he was stood.
Wow.
Yep. And pulled me back.
Wow.
Yeah.
So he's actually like
Laughing
a
his
proper
head off.
He's
cowboy
a proper
rather than
cowboy.
just a Hollywood
Oh,
cowboy.
yeah.
Yeah. Because that's now, like, if they're in movies and stuff, they just pretend, aren't they? But
Yeah.
He's a real cowboy.
Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah,
incredible.
it was really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, Hopalong Cassidy.
No wonder you still remember that story. I bet
Yeah.
it's just like,
Yeah,
oh,
it's like
yeah.
meeting your dream, isn't it?
I can tell. Yeah, I was probably 8 because I'm pretty sure I looked it up one time. It was 1954 when he came to Blackpool.
Well, incredible.
Incredible.
So my mum worked at R.H.O. Hills then for a while, but then she became a barmaid at the Clifton Arms in Blackpool and a waitress because to earn more money, she did a job at night and in the day at the Lobster Pot group that was very popular at the time. So
Wow.
I've said that because when I get to going to London, that comes
That'll come
back
in.
into the
Yeah,
story.
yeah. No.
Can I just ask Gerry, when you were at school, so
Yeah.
when you was it Baines? So you would have been, that's your high school then.
11.
What like were you like drawn to certain subjects and some things you were like,
Yes.
go on. What
Oh,
did
definitely.
you go on?
Very definitely. I still am. When we've played any quiz games or whatever, I always say, I don't want any chemistry, physics,
No.
biology. I don't want any of that, Yeah.
Yeah,
I'll tell you a story about a quiz in a minute, yeah.
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 So
It's
what
going
subject-
around in circles though, isn't it?
No,
This is-
look, this is your time. That's not a problem.
No.
at
Are you
all.
sure?
Yeah.
Of
Absolutely.
100%, Gerry.
Absolutely, Gerry.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
what's that game? What was that very popular game with the quiz where you went round a board?
Trivia Pursuit.
Yeah, Trivial Pursuit.
Yeah. We had that.
And
at
if
home.
you got there first, you had to have they could select any question they wanted, couldn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I always thought, don't for goodness sake ask
No
me
biology,
those.
chemistry.
Was it ones that you was leaning to though? Like,
Oh
obviously
yes, well certainly.
Which subjects did you really like then?
French.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
I loved French. I still read the odd thing in French, but I've not done it. One of my trips abroad was a trip for 2.5 weeks in the Loire Valley and in Paris. Yeah, when I was 18, I went there because I'd earned some money. I thought, I'm going to go to France. And I got some pen friends there.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I stayed with the family and he was a boulangerie. It was a boulangerie, so he was a baker. So it was fine. And it was on the main road between Paris and the south of France. So he got regular callers from English people and he couldn't speak any English. So while I was there, he'd say, hang on, I'll get my mate kind of thing. Gerry, come here. What's he saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, very good. Yeah. So anyway, that was later on.
And
But the
so
subjects were French, Maths I quite liked.
Yeah.
I have a story that I can tell you about how I joined the civil service because it involves all this, exactly what you've said.
Yeah.
Maths, French, English lit.
Did
They
you do
were my
art then?
favourites.
Did you do
Pardon?
art classes?
Pardon?
Art.
I'm not. I'm no artist.
No artist.
Deborah will tell you that. Deborah says I'm still in the stick people.
Oh!
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you can't be good at everything, can
No,
you? So you have to.
I'm
No,
not-
definitely not.
No, exactly.
When I'll come to something else later. I produced my own account of the Cheltenham Festival on a daily basis, 14 days, called the Cheltenham Spectator and Festival News. And I started it when Deborah would be 88, 13.
Right.
So she'd be on holiday with us, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Right, Debs, tell you what, I need some illustrations for this magazine. I want you to do them for me, please. I'll give you the subject, but I can't draw them. Yeah, and at 13, she's quite happy. She thinks, oh, that'll be good. Yeah. So after the cricket had finished, we'd go out for a meal and then we'd go back to the hotel and I'd say, right, he was driving things to the boundaries a lot, can you produce something for that? And so she produced the guy in a car driving to the boundary with the ball in front of her, and things like that.
Yeah.
That went fine until she was old enough to say, Dad, I want to go out. I don't want to sit here drawing.
Oh, yeah.
As they
So
do.
one of the issues, I had to draw them. I had to do drawings myself. It was okay, but not in her class. No, I wasn't an artist.
No, I bet. So obviously you went to high
Baines,
school.
yeah.
Yeah. So, during high school, I assume you found a love for what you wanted to do, or did you fall into
No,
How did it
no
all come
idea.
How did that all
about?
come about?
I had no idea what I wanted to do. Let me just give you one story about Pop Terry again.
Oh, yeah.
This is how perceptive he must have been. I've always, and I've said this to Vicky, I've always been mischievous.
Mhm.
Always.
I've heard some of
And I
your
still am.
stories.
And I still am.
Why not? Eh?
Yeah.
And if he went out of the room or whatever, we'd all have a play about and everything. I got banned from the chemistry lab one day for splashing somebody or whatever. And Minnie Mitchell, he was called, Mr. Mitchell, Minnie Mitchell. Wolstenholme, get out, you see. So I thought, great, get out. I don't need to worry. So I got up and walked out the door. He came running after me. Where do you think you're going? I said, well, you've just told me to get out. I might as well get out. Get back in that class. Oh, I don't know. Anyway, Pop Terry, at the end of each term, he would go out of the room somewhere and say, I've got a prize for the best behaved boy in the class while I'm away. How the heck does he know who was best behaved when he's not there? Anyway,
Yeah.
and I never bothered because I thought, well, and he'd usually tell you what the prize was.
What kind of things are the prizes?
Well, they were just things out of the schoolroom, really, as you'll
right.
see. So this particular time he's going out and he said, yep, I've got a book to give away when I come back to the best behaved boy. So my ears lit up and thought, a book, right. So I sat there like that and the lads were messing about, throwing pellets around or whatever, and I just sat there and they went, Gerry, get going, No,
Gerry,
no,
Gerry.
I'm not doing it. No. He came back in and he looked round and I'm sat there like this. He looked round and he said, right, today's prize goes to Wolstenholme. You see. Oh, so excited. And he pulled out, I've still got it.
Wow.
Yes.
Oh,
Well,
amazing.
Did you know I was a bookseller for 25 years or so?
No, but we'll definitely come to that.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
was a bookseller for 25 years as well as my career. The thing about that was, it was in London I started, and the London booksellers who I got to know well and used to visit them all and everything, and two of them mentored me kind of thing when I'm 17, and they used to say, this is a waste of a career. I said, what do you mean? They went, you should be a bookseller. You shouldn't be a civil servant. You're not a civil servant type. I said, no, but I'm ambitious, which
Yeah.
I was.
Yeah.
You'll see when I tell you any stories about that. I'm ambitious, I said, and I want to get on. And I can do this in my part-time. Yeah, but you're wasted. I said, well, that's how it's got to be, I'm afraid. And that was that. So he pulls this book out and it had an inscription in it, somebody's name and the year. And the year happened to be the date of my dad's birth,
Ooh,
Yeah.
magic
Wow.
moment.
1912. All right. So I looked at it. Oh, it's worth 50 or 60 quid now, by the way.
Yeah.
I might just add.
Yeah.
Yeah. It wasn't then, but it is now. And because it's illustrated by a guy called John Hassel, and his illustrations are very collected. So I get the book. Oh, I'm so excited. I go home and I say to my Dad, look what I've got today. I said, and do you know something? I'm sure this cheered him up.
Yeah.
I said, do you know something, Dad? He said, what? I said, it's as old as you,
Oh.
this book. Yeah, I said, it's 1912. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
What
but-
was the book though,
but-
Gerry?
What
Swiss
was it?
Family Robinson.
Family
Okay.
Robinson.
Swiss Family Robinson.
Right.
It's
Yeah, good
just-
book.
It's just the illustrations that make it worth what it is, because there's lots of copies of Swiss Family Robinson around.
Right.
Right.
But this has got John Hassel illustrations in colour. Great.
Amazing.
I've still got I got it out the other day to just remind me that I'd still got it, and so I must read that again now. I've not read it for years.
Oh,
So-
wow. Wow.
So as to a career, I had no idea what I wanted to do.
No.
I certainly knew what I didn't want to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't want to go to university.
Right.
I'm
That
not
was
saying
that
I'd have been good enough. I don't know.
No.
But I did not want to go to university.
No.
Take the GCEs and leave
Yeah.
Yeah.
and get a job.
Right.
Incidentally, I had a job in school holidays. I'd been a milkman. I did that for a summer,
Mm-hmm.
and I worked at a firm called Waller and Hartley, which was a sweet factory
Nice.
near where I lived. Oh, it was brilliant.
Did you rub
Any
the
number of
sweets?
sweets you wanted.
Oh
Did
yes.
it? Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
And every weekend you could buy a shilling parcel, a 10p parcel, about this big, full of all the rejects and everything.
Did you not put weight on with having a dad that gives you free cake and then sweets on tap?
No, because I was active and
Oh,
yeah.
running about.
Quicksilver.
and
I would have put on a lot of weight during
I used
that.
my bike and everything,
Yeah.
and because eventually my dad bought me a bike to save the tuppence each way on the bus.
Oh yeah.
And I had
Good
it
call.
stolen from Derby Baths one night. We used to go swimming, me and the boys, and I'd go down to the baths, leave
No.
it downstairs, came out, oh, my bike's gone. And I was so frightened to go home and tell my dad.
Yeah.
I walked, North Station was near where I live, and I rang him up. I rang my dad up and said, Dad, I've got bad news. He went, what? I said, somebody's stolen my bike. That didn't go down very well. But
Better than probably standing on lots of his cakes.
Yeah.
yeah, so
So what did you do then from leaving school? So obviously
Right.
university was off the cards.
I decided I'd stay on another year at school and give me time to think about it.
Mhm.
And I suddenly saw an advertisement in the paper, civil service exams. And it was in North Shore Methodist, which was 5 minutes walk from where I lived. And I knew a couple of lads who were members. In fact, I acted in a pantomime at North Shore Methodist for them because they persuaded me to be.
Oh no, you didn't.
Yeah, they got me into it.
Oh, you did.
Yeah. I went to a youth club, by the way, as well, which I'll tell you about too, if you don't mind. So I saw this advertisement in the paper that said civil service exams. Oh, well, I might as well apply for that. So I applied. I got the Civil Service Commission, as it was then, I don't know what it is now, sent me a sample paper and the subjects that were covered, and it was the same as GCE.
Mhm.
Today, I always make a joke of this and say, today, to get in the civil service, what day is it, Adam? You know, yeah, you're in. Yeah, you're in.
Yeah.
You know, yeah. I always say that.
He's thrown me this week because it's bank holiday, so yeah, my days were
but you know
mixed
what I
up.
mean.
Yeah,
That-
absolutely.
It was all that.
absolutely.
It was that easy.
Yeah.
You're in.
Yes. But in those days, it was GCE standard. And it was 5 days of exams. Morning, afternoon,
Wow,
all the
honestly.
way through. And you had 2 compulsory subjects, which were fortunate for me. Arithmetic, as they called
Nice,
it, because
yeah.
you'll see why they called it that in a minute. Arithmetic and English. I thought, that's not... I wasn't being cocky, and I didn't realise that I knew... I was... You don't think that you're clever or whatever,
But
do
you're
you?
comfortable
No,
with
no.
them.
You
like,
just do it,
yeah,
don't you?
yeah.
So no chemistry then.
There was.
Oh, was
Oh,
he?
yeah, that was all there. All the subjects were there.
Oh,
All
wow.
well, you'll see the problem I have in a minute.
Yeah.
All the subjects were there. So, arithmetic and English, and they took up 2 days. And then there were a list of subjects, which included biology, chemistry, physics.
No.
Oh, I'll tell you what I didn't like at the time, and now I'm quite a historian, but history, I wasn't particularly a history
I
fan.
was going to ask you that, but as I've grown older, I'm more intrigued in history.
Oh,
like in
massively, yeah.
Me
school,
too.
my teacher used to talk, and I'd be like, right, time to sleep.
Yes.
But now I really love learning about
Yeah.
history.
I remember getting 8% in a history exam
Yeah.
once.
Did
Yeah.
not care about
And
it.
now
No.
my books and I write articles for people on all sorts of things and
Yeah.
history.
Yeah.
And I like you. I love it. So I looked at the subjects and thought, right, French, that's there. And because the compulsory was arithmetic and it was problem solving and things like that, there was no technical stuff in there like algebra and all that.
Yeah,
Because one of
Algebra.
the other subjects was mathematics. So I thought, oh yeah, I'm all right at
Yeah.
maths. I'll do maths as one, so I'm away. French, yeah, that's okay.
Yeah.
And then I look at the list and think, gosh, what am I going to do for the third subject? And then I saw Latin. And I thought, oh, I'm quite good at Latin. Yeah, I'll do Latin.
Wow.
I mean, amo amasamat, amamasamat, balum, 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 bali, below, below. Yeah, no problem. So I go for those 3 subjects. When the exam papers come, French, no problem. Maths, no problem. Latin, it's broken down into 3. Grammar,
Yeah.
no problem. Once you've got into a bit of grammar, you know it's easy to recite verbs and tell them all this, that, and the other. But then Latin into English, English into Latin. Oh, I thought, that's going to be interesting. So I can see the paper now,
Yeah.
the Latin into English. It said, De Bello Gallico. And I thought, hey, this is all right. The Gallic Wars. I know those words. Phew, I'm away. And the first sentence is something like, it's not quite this, but this is it. Omnia Gallia triparta est.
Mm-hmm.
And I immediately went, all Gaul's divided into 3 parts. And I write it down quick while I've got it in my mind. I thought, I'm away. It's easy, this. I didn't know much else.
That was it.
Oh.
I knew words here, there, and everywhere throughout the piece, and I knew Caesar was fighting the Gallic Wars, so I made it up.
Why not?
I just made it up. I thought, well, I'll just have to have a go at something. And
That's
picking out words that I knew, I put it into a sentence. It may not have been relevant, I don't know.
Yeah.
And I came out of there, because I think that was the last exam on the Friday. And I came out thinking, well, you've blown that, Wolstenholme. Bear in mind, I'm 16 at the time, so I thought, you've blown that.
Yeah.
What a shame. So we await the results, and 3 of us took it from Baines. Graham Moore, can't think who the other one was. Me and, Mick Harrison. Yeah. Mick failed, and they knew before me, because I just leave early. They lived in the Fylde, in Overwire, so they were at school much earlier than me.
Yeah.
I had to get a bus or a train or cycle. So Mick said, I failed. Oh, why? What? Oh, he said, I got a letter, an envelope with a letter in saying, sorry, you failed.
Yeah.
Graham said, well, I've passed. I said, oh, have you? Good, well done, Graham. I said, well, I'll be in Mick's class, you know. He said, I've passed, he said, and I got a package with, you know, things about different departments. Where would you like to work or whatever, you see? So, coming home, I'm thinking, my mum and dad are at work. I've got the key, so I think as soon as I open that door, I'll look at the post and I'll know what's going on.
Yeah.
If there's an envelope slim, I've failed.
If there's that little package.
If there's a package, I've got it. And believe it or not, there was a package there.
Wow.
No.
Yeah. I thought, yeah, I think I might have passed here. No, delighted to tell you you've passed, you know, and here's the next step.
Wow.
You know, right?
And you blagged Latin as well and
Yeah,
got in.
yeah, I
Oh
blagged
my
it. Yeah,
word.
I blagged it. Yeah, yeah. I definitely blagged the English into Latin.
Wow.
Just goes
The
to show
Latin
those,
into
doesn't
English,
it?
sorry.
Yeah.
I wasn't too bad on because I knew a lot of the words, and it was perhaps a simpler subject. But when I saw De Bello Gallico, my heart leapt. I thought, oh, the Gallic Wars, we know what that is.
Yeah.
And then the first sentence, I thought, I'm racing. So I passed. So what do you do now? There's a list of departments that you can go to. I had a lot of friends who were at Baines, older than me, who some of them were still there just leaving, and others had left because they were cricketers or whatever. And I used to pal about with them and everything. And some of them worked in Ministry of Pensions and National Insurance, Inland Revenue. And I thought, I don't want any of that stuff.
No,
Revenue,
that's
Ministry
right.
of Pensions and oh no. So I looked down the list of departments, and it says, this jumped out at me, HM Treasury. Ooh, I thought that sounds good. That sounds sort of impressive.
Yeah.
Number 1, HM Treasury. 2, Foreign Office. It wasn't Foreign and Colonial Office then. Foreign Office. Because I thought this is much more impressive. Than,
Yeah, it sounds
where'd
impressive.
you work? Ministry of Pensions and National Insurance. Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah.
Where'd you work? HM Treasury. Yeah. And it
Does
turned out
sound-
like that. You'll see.
Yeah.
It's and the third one I put down, Colonial Office. I thought that dates me, that Colonial Office, because that went out of existence in the 70s. So put those down. What I didn't realise was if you put those departments, I didn't even realise when I got the advice that I would start there. You're in central London. I knew it wasn't local. You're in central London, and they were desperate for staff. It was very different, the civil service in 63, because most people were dyed in the wool, old-time civil service. There were very few youngsters.
Yeah.
I didn't realise that. So, HM Treasury. I get a letter back from the commissioners. Yes, we've appointed you to HM Treasury.
Nice.
Yeah.
Were
And
you
I thought,
happy?
well, I said to my dad, hey, Dad, I've got a job in the Treasury. I said, HM Treasury. He said, where's that? I said, it's in London. He went, what? I went, yeah. I said, don't worry. I said, they've also sent me, because they give me a start date.
Yeah.
13th of June, 1963.
Wow. Your
Yep.
memory's incredible,
It
by
really
the way.
is.
Yeah, 13th of June.
Really?
19, well, you'll
Wow.
see why I've remembered that in a minute as well. And HM Treasury. I said, don't worry, because my dad's thinking, well, what the
How do you
heck's he
get
going to
there?
do?
Yeah.
What's he going to do when he's going there?
And how old was you at this stage, sorry?
16.
16, wow.
Yeah. I was just after 17 when I went down there.
Right.
Yeah. So my dad's thinking, I said, don't worry. I said, the civil service commissioners have sent me a place in a civil service hostel in Bayswater. I'd never heard of Bayswater in those days. I'd been to London twice, once with my dad when I was 10 and once with my mum and dad when I was perhaps 12. Yeah, and me and my dad spent a couple of weeks there. He had a brother down there. So we stayed in Tulse Hill,
Yeah.
62 Dumbarton Court. Yeah, I remember it well. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So I said, they've sent me a place and £3 a week. I said, it is.
£3 a
All
week.
in. Breakfast, dinner and everything.
Honestly.
Wow.
It'd be great if it was still like that,
I
wouldn't
know.
£3 a week.
it? £3 a week.
I've got some good stories about that place and everything that I think you'll quite appreciate. Well, I hope you do. So the preparation to get ready to go to London.
Wow.
I've no suit. I've not got a suit. My dad said, you'll need a suit.
Yeah.
Starting in the office like that. I'd never had a suit in my life.
Wow.
So my dad broke the bank and took me down Church Street, and we went to Hepworth's, and my dad bought me a Hardy Amis suit.
What colour was it, Gerry?
It was a greenish colour
Yeah.
in squares, very
Ooh.
of its time.
Yeah, I can
Of its
picture
time.
it.
Deborah goes mad with me Dad, why didn't you keep that Hardy Amis suit? It's
Yeah.
worth a fortune now.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, well, he's a big designer name.
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
in the time, and this is how iconic.
Yeah, yeah.
So 50 bob, £2, 50p. Yep. I'd never had a suit in my life.
That's quite expensive though, considering
It was.
it's £3 for the whole week
It
of
was
meals
expensive.
and accommodation.
It was
yeah.
expensive.
Yeah.
But my dad
Oh.
must have thought, well, I don't want him going down there looking like a tramp.
No.
I'll get something good. Yeah.
That's
so I got this
amazing.
Hardy Amis suit. So get packed up and everything. I can remember the day I left Central Station. You won't know that because it's not been there in your time, but it was there.
What, in London?
No, Blackpool.
Oh, no.
Yeah. No,
No.
I know of it. I didn't see it. No.
You've heard of it though,
Yeah,
haven't you? Yeah. It's where TK Maxx is now, just across the road from there.
Well, I know
was.
TK Maxx.
Yeah, it was opposite there.
Okay.
Yeah. And I can remember the morning very well because a friend of mine, he was gay actually, much older than me. He's sadly died now. He left me £2,000 in his will, which was a surprise. Yeah,
Oh.
very nice.
That's very nice.
Yeah. And my dad said to me when he came to our house and that, because we used to go to football matches and all that with all the others. And my dad said, and I didn't understand this comment, just be careful with Derek, you see. And I thought, what does he mean? I didn't realise that Derek was gay at the time, obviously.
Right, okay.
But he didn't. It never affected our friendship
No.
or
No.
impinged on my life or his life or anything.
No, because it was different times back then
Yes,
as well, wasn't it?
was.
Yeah.
It was. But when my dad said it, I thought, what does he mean?
No.
There's another story like that. When I worked at Warren Hartley's, I went with a friend of mine, Howard Morgan, who, funnily enough, was a piano teacher. And Deborah wanted to learn the piano.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, I know just the person who can teach you. So I contacted Howard. This is when we'd come back to Blackpool, obviously. And I rang Howard. Hey, Howard, will you teach Deborah to play? Yeah, of course I will. So she goes, first lesson. She comes home. Dad, I can't believe what I've heard there. I said, what? She said, do you know who taught Howard to play the piano? Yeah, I do, I said. She said, who? I said, me. She said, yes, he told me. She said, your dad taught me to play the piano.
Wow.
Yeah, because I was an accomplished pianist, believe it or not.
Oh,
But by the age of 13 or 14, girls are on the scene,
Yeah,
football's on the scene,
Yeah.
and I'm sat there practicing. I thought, blow this.
Yeah.
I want to get out there with the lads and game of football or something. I don't want to.
Do you play now?
No.
No.
Arthritis in my knees made me retire about 45.
Right.
I went to the doctor. God, I've got pains in my knees. Oh, you've got chronic arthritis. And the word chronic frightened me to death.
Yeah.
I thought, chronic? He went, yeah. He said it's the best type to have. I thought, is it? Oh, right.
Yeah, so it was quite a while ago since the last time you played piano then?
Oh, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
no. So, Deborah, I was in the Blackpool Musical Festival and all sorts of stuff, but that's by the way. So, Deborah starts learning the piano. We bought her a piano so she could practice at home.
Mm-hmm.
So I said to her as an incentive, tell you what I'll do. When you come home with your homework and that, I'll do it with you. You see? So off we go. Scales, dead easy, I could do this.
Yeah.
No problem. 3 weeks in, Howard rings me. Gerry, you might have a surprise when you come home tonight. When you get up, when Deborah comes home tonight. Oh, right, why? Well, I'm wasting my time with her. She's so advanced and knows music. There's no point in me plonking scales and showing her, I don't know, cherry pink and apple blossom white, with simple music. So I've just given her the music and said, pick what you want, take it home and play it and come back with it when you finish. So she comes home with all sorts of fanciful blinking concerts and everything. And I thought, this is my exit. Deborah, I said, I'll leave you to it now.
How incredible is
yeah.
that, though? This is what you were
Yeah.
saying about how talented
Yeah,
she is.
she is.
isn't
She really is.
Yeah, and
She's
we'll definitely
just like
obviously,
Vicky.
yeah, we'll definitely obviously speak about her because I can tell straight away without even knowing anything about your daughter how incredibly proud you are of her,
Oh, yeah.
which is always amazing, and I love that because you should be proud of your children, like
Yeah.
so.
We've had our moments, Debs and I, but nothing serious.
No, you wouldn't be human if you didn't
No,
have a moment
no,
with your
that's
kids, would you?
it. That's
the
it.
thing.
Cried my eyes out the day she decided to move to Glastonbury. Oh, good grief.
How long ago was that, Gerry?
Oh, Linda was still alive, and
Oh,
she's passed away 21 years ago.
Wow.
Oh, so it's been a while then.
Yeah, 25 years, probably more.
Wow.
But you speak? Do you speak a lot?
Every day, 2 or
Yeah.
3 times.
Amazing,
Oh,
Yeah.
amazing.
Sometimes a lot longer.
Yeah.
Because
So
she's
still
now,
connected.
she runs her own little business of antiques and bric-a-brac. And her husband, I said to Vicky, said to her one day recently, why don't you follow in your dad's footsteps and major in books? So she started majoring in books. But books are slightly different than antique dealers are useless on books. And I say that without fear or favour.
Yeah.
Some of them know a little bit, but unless you're a bookseller,
Yeah.
you do not know all the nuances and who's the good and bad or whatever. Mind you, I'll tell you a story shortly that shows I don't. But so she's done that and she started. So that's given me a lot more work, as it were, because when she buys books, or she'll ring me up first and say, see these, what do you think? How much should I pay or whatever? And then when she gets them, Dad, what's this one worth? What's this one? Which I don't mind at all because
nice
it keeps my hand in.
Yeah.
Keeps my hand in.
Yeah.
It's similar to me and my dad, isn't it? Like he's retired now, but he still loves to learn more about my business and the help within it. He still wants to be active and present within it. I love that.
Yeah.
I absolutely adore
My
it.
dad was the same with me.
Yeah.
My dad built, because I'm saying to Vicky, I'm no DIYer. And
I am not. Definitely not.
I am useless. My dad, I said to Vicky, gave me a hammer and said, that's the only tool you're fit to use. Yep. And I understand that because I can put pictures up.
That's
bang,
it.
Bang, bang.
That's all you need.
I've got 600 pictures on the walls.
600?
Yeah.
Honestly?
I know you think I don't believe you. I'm not saying you think that, but I know you're thinking that.
Yeah.
That
That's a
is
lot.
incredible. Yes.
On one wall or
no, around the house.
Oh my word!
Have you counted them then at 600?
About 12 months ago, a friend of mine was round. We were having a cup of coffee. He brought his daughter, Emily, 12 at the time. She's bored. So during the conversation in my dining room, she says, Gerry, do you know you've got 125 pictures in this room? You see? And I could tell she's bored out of her mind because she'd been sitting counting the pictures. Yeah. So I thought, I know what I'll do. So I said, hey, Emily, I wonder how many I've got in the whole house.
What
she
a great
said,
idea.
I'll go and count them.
Wow, so that's how you know.
Yeah.
What are the pictures of then, Gerry? Is it family or is it...
Oh, no.
No.
Oh, no.
Well, when Linda was alive, we never had a family photo on display. One, sorry, I'm telling a lie.
Yeah.
Two. Mm-hmm. One which was a photo, we'd won a competition or something, and the competition, the winnings were a studio portrait and that.
Oh, yeah.
So we'd got that. And when we were at Butlins, which is another story because I did not want to go to Butlins.
Oh.
I'd avoided it all my life. As a young boy, lads went to Butlins.
Yeah.
And I used to say, Butlins, you're welcome to that. If you think I'm going to anywhere like that, where you're regimented and told to do this, that, and the other, I'm not going to Butlins. I'll come to that later.
Oh, please do.
Just don't forget to remind me about
that.
Yeah,
no, I'm going to make a note of that, definitely.
Yeah. So, and you asked me what they were.
Yeah.
No family photos. But now, when I sit on my bed or because I read every night, I go upstairs fairly early and sit and have a read. I can see 10 photos of Linda around the room.
In your bedroom?
Yeah. In the bedroom alone.
Yeah.
Can see 10. And we had none when we were together. Wow. Yeah. So I've got... Some of them are worth a bit of money.
Wow.
I was lucky because when was learning the book trade, as I'll come to later, if you don't mind. One of my mentors was a specialist in illustrated books. So my knowledge of illustrated books expanded massively.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've got prints from different things like that.
Sounds amazing.
And when I left London, this bookseller friend of mine did me a painting of the round pond in Kensington Gardens, which I've still got. I've got a Noel Coward original. Do you know Noel Coward?
No, I don't.
I've got
we're learning a lot though.
Very famous, very. In fact, in 1930, he was the highest earning author in the country.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
He premiered one of his plays at Blackpool in 1942. Yep. During the war. He'd written it just before the war. Premiere was cancelled because of the war.
Yeah.
He came to Blackpool to do a week of 3 plays, one of which was this that had never been performed anywhere else.
And what was it called, sorry, Gerry?
The play.
The play.
This Happy Breed.
This Happy
Yeah.
Breed.
Amazing. So let's go back to London. So obviously you moved to London. You was at the civil service. How long was you at the civil service for in London?
12 years.
12 years. Wow.
So going back to that, the day of the departure, Derek, that gay friend of mine,
Yeah.
came and stayed overnight with us because we went for a walk on the beach and everything because we used to do that. And I'd say, Derek, this is the last time I'm going to do it for a while, isn't it? You know. Well, yeah, he said, that's why I wanted to come and say cheerio and
What
everything.
a nice guy.
I think it's embarrassing saying it, isn't it? I think he rather liked me and quite...
Yeah.
I was better looking perhaps then and
Yeah, you still got it,
younger
Gerry.
and younger. Yeah, and younger. He used to come and watch us play football. In fact, he was a magnificent photographer, and I've got some great action shots of me in action in games that he'd taken.
That's
One I've used regularly because as a schoolboy, I was a goalkeeper, believe it or not. And one of them, I'm grovelling about in the mud, absolutely caked, because we weren't a very strong team, Whitegate Baptists. We weren't a very strong team, so I was always in the action, which suited me. You'll see why. So I'm always in the action. I'm grovelling about in the mud, and he got a great shot, which I've used on 2 occasions when the office had a competition to bring an old photo in and see if people can recognise it.
Oh, I love that.
Well, I think 2 people got mine in one of them because they said, I can't think of anybody else who would be daft enough to grovel around in the mud like that. It must be Gerry. Yeah, and they were right. Wow. So I played in goals in those days.
Yeah.
And when I went to the Treasury, we started a football team. There was no youngsters there to start with. I'll come to that in a minute with how I got there. And we started a football team, and we were top of the league in the first season. Right. We won the London Championship.
Wow.
You know. So we were invited on a continental trip to play against continental opposition. Off we go, Belgium and Holland. We got absolutely pasted.
Oh, no.
Because, what were we then, 18? Not cocky. I was never cocky, but thought, hey, we must be all right. Yeah. We got absolutely pasted.
Oh, never.
The team eventually folded before I left London. So I was out of the game for 3 years. I'd still practice and go out with my dad on the park, and I was still in goals in those days. Anyway, when I came back to Blackpool, I worked with some lads my own age and said, do you play football? I went, yeah. Will you sign for us, please? I went, yeah, you don't know whether I'm any good. No, but we've got practice games coming up, okay. What position do you play? And I said, anywhere but goal.
Even though he was a goalkeeper?
Yeah.
Oh, right.
I'd had enough.
All right.
Plus, it's all right being a goalkeeper when you're always in the action because, you're okay, aren't you?
Yeah.
But when we're winning the league...
Oh, you're bored, yeah.
we played at Wormwood Scrubs one day, right outside the prison.
Wow.
And we won 16-0. And
16?
I kept coming out of goal and sitting on the halfway line.
Wow.
Till in the end, the referee said, hey, what are you doing, goalie? Get back in those nets. I said, well, there's nothing to do down there. And so eventually I thought, I've had enough of this. I'm not in the action enough.
No.
So I said, anywhere but goal.
Wow.
So I played the last 25 years of my career as a midfielder. because you're always in the game.
Yeah, you're always
definitely,
moving.
Yeah.
Definitely.
One game I went to, the manager said, Gerry, you're in the back four today. You're the centre of the back four. I don't want to play there, Derek. I'm not a back four player. I'm not in the game enough. He said, you're playing there. Oh, gosh, I don't like that. Anyway, game starts. We get the ball and attack. So I think, right, we're attacking. So off I go. He's on the sideline shouting his head off. Gerry, where do you think you're going? What are you doing? And I can remember turning around. I remember where it was and everything. And I turned round and I shouted, don't worry, I'll be back there when I'm needed. And believe it or not, I won man of the match for that game. I'll never forget that. For that. I won man of the match. But the reason being, it was so easy in the back four.
Yeah.
You know,
I bet.
if you could read the game, you were okay. So I'd just wander off. So that was, yeah.
Did you enjoy living in London?
Loved every minute of it.
Yeah.
And of course, a very important thing happened.
Go on.
I met Linda.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
That's a story in itself.
I want to know.
We know
Let's
now.
delve in now.
Itself.
I want to know.
make sure you have a drink, Gerry, and then let's
Yeah,
get ready.
let's
for
That's a
get
this.
ready to
story in
find out.
itself.
Yeah.
Well,
'Cause
I'll lead up to it by telling you, as the train was about to leave Central Station, my mum was crying. And I said to Derek, Gerry, man, I'm just 17. So
yeah.
I go, what's my mum crying for? And Derek went, well, because you're going. I said, there's no need to cry for that.
Yeah.
There's me sitting crying outside Deborah's old
Yeah.
house when she pulls off down to Glastonbury.
Yeah.
I thought of that.
Yeah.
Sorry, Mum. Yeah. So, and I can remember going down on the train. The only thing I can't remember, because I never travel anywhere now without a book in my pocket.
Yeah.
Because you never know what delays you're going to have.
Very
and you
true.
Get your book out. And
It's a
Very
everything.
great
true.
one, that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know what I did on the way down. I don't think I was thinking about it. But anyway, I arrive at Euston.
It's the hustle
Bayswater.
and bustle.
Where's Bayswater? Yeah, I don't know. So I look at a tube map. Oh, it's on the tube there, right. Get the tube to Bayswater. 40 Inverness Terrace. Named Hotel 40. Palladian architecture. 5 floors. Beautiful.
Nice.
3 houses, knocked together to make this massive Hotel 40. So up the steps between the columns and that, and this lady, biggish lady, comes. Yes, I said, I've got a room here from the civil service. Oh, what's your name? Gerry Wolstenholme. Oh, yes, Mr. Wolstenholme, I was expecting you today. Come in. She was called. And you'll see why this is ironic when I tell you the next part of the story. Miss Bruce.
Miss
Big
Bruce.
lady. You knew she was in charge though.
Oh, I bet.
Right.
She was the
She
matron.
sounds like with a name like Bruce.
Yeah, she
Sounds
was
like Trunchbull from Matilda.
Yeah,
Well,
that's what
going
I'm
in my head.
thinking.
When I tell you the name of her second in command, you'll see. Her second in command was a 6 foot, at least, possibly 6'2" lady called Miss Baumgarten.
Oh my
Oh.
god.
She was like a German prison camp.
I was about to say she's German.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, honestly. But Miss Bruce and I've been in trouble with her, don't get me wrong, because you know how mischievous
Yeah.
I am. Well, I've told you. One night, raining, we always thought there was a mixed hostel across the park in South Ken. Why are we not in a mixed hostel? But looking back on it, and even thinking at the time, it wouldn't have been the same because we were all blokes. So there was football, cricket,
Yeah,
every
boys being
night.
boys.
Every
Yeah.
night,
Yeah.
yeah. And if it rained, Henry Walker, lad from Liverpool, he was in a 6-room dorm, which was bigger than ours.
Mhm.
So what we used to do, we'd push the beds to one wall, and then we'd get a ball and we'd have headers around the room, a goalie. You could dive on the beds and all this, you see. So we're doing that one night, rainy night, ball flying around the room, door opens, it's Miss Bruce.
Ooh.
What are you boys doing? You'll see how that phrase comes into use again a bit later. What are you boys doing? Well, what can you say? We're playing football. Right, she said, give me that ball. It's confiscated. That's the first thing. And secondly, get yourself down to my storeroom. get mops and buckets. I want all these ball marks washed off the walls. And you know, we did it.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
bet you did.
We did it.
Yeah.
Because you did in those days, didn't
Yeah.
you?
Yeah.
But she was great. I'll give you another example. Believe it or not, before I left Blackpool, I've not covered that yet, but I went to the youth club. And I was going out with a girl at the time, 2 years older than me, and my mum and dad thought it was getting a bit too serious. And I went away with her to stay with her family. She came from the Midlands. The first date, she came from Stoke, and Port Vale were playing Blackpool at Bloomfield Road. So I asked her for a date and said, I'll take you to see Port Vale.
I knew.
Because the lads all went, see you tonight, you know, at school. The lads went, see you tonight. I said, no, I'm taking a girl with me.
Oh.
So the cop at Blackpool had a big steps going up in a zigzag path. They were all waiting up there to see me arrive with the girl.
Bet.
Yeah. Anyway, so I went out with her, and then I got to the youth club because a friend of mine in the next street, older than me again, was there, and he was starting a football club. And he knew I played, and I was a goalie in those days, as I've said.
Yeah.
And he came and said, Gerry, I want you to come and play in goal for us at Whitegate Baptist. So I went, yeah, of course. He said, the only thing is you're going to have to go to church. I said, I don't mind that. I'll go to church. Okay. So I go to church, and of course, a whole new world opens up. You're with all boys and girls, and, you know, oh, this is great. And I don't like saying it. I had loads of girlfriends there, and I mean serious girlfriends, you know. Yeah. And it was the kind of place where, I hate saying it, you could date somebody for 6 months and then go, I've had enough now. I'll see about such a thing. Yeah.
Was you quite popular with the women back then?
Well, yeah, it sounds it, doesn't it?
All
that bad.
Don't be shy, Gerry.
I don't like. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can tell you the names: Sue Macer,
Janet
Haig, Martha Williams. I can tell you, quite a few of them. Christine Brown.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a few then.
Well, it comes into the story of Miss Bruce in a minute. So, went to the youth club, played the football, dated the girls, great time. And when I left to go to London, the vicar got me. He said, I want you to read the lesson tonight. I went, I can't do that. He went, yeah, you can. And you're going to. He said, we're so proud of you and pleased that you've, all you've done for us and that, because we did concerts and all sorts of things.
Yeah.
And so he said, I want you to read the lesson. So I went home and I said to my dad, get the Bible out quick. He said, why? I said, I've forgotten what it was now. Corinthians 6 to whatever it was. I said, I need to look at it. Why? What do you need to look at? I'm reading the lesson tonight. So I practiced for ages, just to get it right. Yeah. Which was good. I've done it once since, funnily enough. Blackpool Football Club got me to do one at their Christmas service in St Thomas's, just across the road from Devi Road. And by then I'm older, obviously. And I went, that's okay, I'll do that. Yeah. And I did it. And one of the ladies, youngish, came across after I'd finished, and she came across and she said, if you don't mind me saying, she said, that was the best reading of a lesson I've heard.
Wow.
And I thought, oh, well, that's nice.
That's nice.
It is nice.
So. Yeah. Nice of her to say so.
Yeah.
Anyway, Miss Bruce. So, yes, I had a lot of girlfriends and I corresponded with them. And under my bed in the hostel, I had 2 suitcases full of romantic letters from all because
you're like a Blackpool Don Juan.
No. Believe it or not, I'll say this. I'm sorry to say it in front of you, Vicky, but sex wasn't in it in those days. Believe it or not,
no,
there was no sex. Obviously, you had kissing and cuddling and everything.
Yeah.
And I remember one time, Sue Macer and I, and one of my football mates, Terry Barlow, was sat next to me, and we were writing messages on our hand while the sermon was going on, and he was ribbing me, going, "Hey, look at you, birds."
Yeah, it was a different time back then, though.
Yes,
it was.
Yeah, there was no sex.
No.
Because I did think at one time, I was with one girl, Kathleen, forgotten her surname, funnily enough, which is unusual. Kathleen, anyway, I know where she lived. She lived on Devonshire Road near the school. I was going to a pop concert My dad had got me tickets for a pop concert, and her and I had been canoodling in our front room because with my mum and dad working at nights, my mum as a barmaid and my dad at the theatre, I'd got the house to myself, and so I'll come round, and like 4 of us sometimes, 2 in the dining room and 2 in the living room, having a kiss and a cuddle with the music playing.
I was going to say the music would be playing,
yeah,
smooth
playing.
music.
Yeah, music was playing. Yeah, so that all went on, all the letters. So Miss Bruce said to me one day, because also I was in a book club. I was getting a book every month.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, "Oh, you're a big reader, Mr. Wolstenholme." She always called me Mr. Wolstenholme, and I always called her Miss Bruce.
Yeah.
Yeah, she said, "You're a big reader." And she said, I'll tell you what, we are at pigeonholes.
Yeah.
I can't believe the amount of correspondence you get. And I went, yeah. I said, I'm lucky there, aren't I? Because what else do you do at the night? Sometimes you just write a letter to Sue Mesa or whatever and say, I remember sending some top secret labels back to Sue saying, hey, look what I'm working with now, Yeah, only a label, no information.
Yeah.
Just to show her, Yeah. Anyway, so Miss Bruce was like that. She also was very strict on Sunday meals. You could not, for instance, when it was ice cream, which was a treat, she would sit at a little table and she would dole out 1 scoop of ice cream, wafer biscuit, off you go, don't come back.
That's all you get in?
Yeah. One day I say to the boys, do you know, I really fancy more ice cream. You've got no chance. I said, well, I'm going to try it. They said, I wouldn't if I were you, because she was fierce-ish. Incidentally, after that football game, I forgot this bit. Next day, I go down to breakfast, and in my pigeonhole, there's a letter addressed Mr. Wolstenholme in her writing. And I think,
Miss Bruce?
Miss Bruce.
Wow.
What's Miss Bruce writing to me for?
What's she saying?
Open it. I can tell you exactly what it says. I've never forgotten it. Mr. Wolstenholme. I would not ring home, you see.
No.
I didn't ring home because I knew my mum and dad were working. I wouldn't know I'd get them, and I was busy. And so I'd not been in touch with my mum and dad for, say, 3 or 4 weeks or whatever. Mr. Wolstenholme, your mother rang last night to check that you were okay. I told her you were fine, but likely to be ejected from the hostel if caught playing football in your bedroom.
Oh, no!
Stopped you writing it there, didn't she?
Didn't she?
I went
Miss
mad with
Bruce.
her in a nice way.
Yeah.
Miss Bruce, what do you mean to tell my mother that?
No.
She'll be having a fit now at home. She'll be thinking I'll be on the streets. When I look back on it, I bet she never said that.
No, she's probably saying it just
you're
to make
right,
sure
actually.
She's
you
just
know.
frightening me.
Yeah,
You know
you're right.
she knows.
You're right.
Yeah.
So I want to get onto the story of how you met your wife, because I really want to know about this. So what age was you? And tell us the story.
Well, the ironic thing about meeting my wife is I'm a bit embarrassed to say I had lots of girlfriends up here. Yeah. And I'd always had a girlfriend, always. I was very lucky.
Yeah.
In London, I think I had 1 night out with a girl in the 3 years before I met Linda.
Oh, wow.
Because 2 things, well, 3. A, you were always busy with the lads or whatever.
Yeah.
B, the office, everybody lived in Haywards Heath or Brighton or North London or whatever, you see. So you didn't think, oh, I'll have a date with them or whatever, and just didn't happen. And thirdly, there were no girls where we were, except we used to go out footballing every night in Kensington Gardens, where you weren't supposed to play football because it's a royal park.
Yeah.
If the parkies came, you legged it quick over to Hyde Park and carried on over
Park,
there.
yeah.
Which is right next to it.
Yeah.
You legged it across there. So a young lad, younger than us, used to come down and watch us and that. And one day he said, can I play? And I went, yeah, of course you can. Come on. Be on our side, kick that way, you used to say, kick that way. And his sister used to come and pick him up. So she was a nice girl. And on the walk back from Kensington Gardens. She walked down Inverness Terrace to where she lived further down in some council flats down the bottom. And so one day I thought, oh, I'll ask her for a date, you know. So I said, simple thing, would you like to go to the pictures? Yeah, that'd be nice, yeah. So we go to the pictures, right. 2 days later, she said, oh, my dad says I can't go again. Why? Because you're not a Catholic.
Ah.
Yeah.
Just like that?
Yeah.
And then you couldn't
so
do
that
it.
was that. I just thought, oh, well, fair enough. That's
Yeah.
the way it is.
Yeah.
We still spoke and that, but that was that. So football, girlfriend, no girls. On my first day in the office, well, let me just preface what I'm going to tell you about Linda by saying I'd no idea where I was going on the Monday. I'd arrived on the Saturday. I had no idea where I was going because I was meeting the welfare officer.
Right.
And the welfare officer, being Treasury official, but not part of the mainstream of the Treasury, was outhoused in Great Smith Street, which is by the side of the Abbey.
Right, okay.
One of the lads in my dormitory, I'll call it, 4 of us, the day I got there, I'm sat on the bed thinking, I wonder what I'll do, you know, and these 3 lads come in. Hey, you the new lad. They knew each other from being there together. Stuart, John, I can't remember. Ken. Yeah, Stuart, John and Ken, that's it. Right. Oh, we'll take you out for a pint. I'm thinking, I don't drink. I don't like pints. I don't like beer. What can I say? I better not say I don't drink because they'll think I'm a pansy. I better be careful. Oh, okay, I said, yeah, okay. So I go and join the queue. She sat at her table. My turn.
Yeah.
I just stand there sheepishly, you know. Gives it me. I turn, take 3 steps away, and I can hear her saying it now. Mr. Wolstenholme. And the lads are all laughing their heads off, thinking, she's got him. She's got him. She'll have the ice cream back in a minute.
Yeah.
You know. Mr. Wolstenholme. So I sheepishly go, yes, Miss Bruce. You've forgotten your wafer.
Oh, you did it.
And I think she knew as well.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah. I think she knew.
Yeah.
But we did get on very well, even though, you know, we used to pinch milk out of her fridge and she'd be sat with the door open, so you had to time your trip to the fridge to get milk when she wasn't looking.
Yeah.
Oh,
anyway,
yeah.
Right.
So where are we going?
3 pints.
Oh,
4 pints, please, the lads say. We went to, I'm not a connoisseur of pubs in London because I only went in that one and the Red Lion across the road from the Treasury where all the knobs went and everything, or where we had do's, where the MPs went and everything. I went in there for do's only. So 4, they didn't even ask me. They went 4 pints, came over. Bloody hell. Being a non-drinker, I drink Vimto or lemonade or whatever. You just quaff it down, don't you?
Yeah.
So I just quaffed this down. Thought, ooh.
Oh, you drank it? You drank the pint?
Well, what could I do? I'd be giving away the fact, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, I did later wonder, did they think, why has he never been with us again?
Yeah.
But True. You see, they weren't sporting and I was, so I was always doing something.
Yeah.
So I was all right. Anyway, 4 pints. Finish that round, have we? Okay. 4 more.
No. Oh, Gerry.
Oh.
Finish that. Honest. 4 more.
No.
By this time, I'm thinking,
whoa,
I've gone here. And when it was then my round, as it were, and my dad had given me a few pounds because I wasn't going to get paid for it, as it turned out, 2 weeks, because I was in the middle of the month. They said, oh, I could do with something to eat. So I sort of slurred out, well, why don't I buy the food instead of a round of drinks? Get out of this one.
Yeah.
And we went to a Wimpy bar and had that.
Oh,
we went
Wimpy.
back to the room then, by midnight this now, and I've been on the go since the 6 o'clock train in the morning, so I'm reasonably tired.
Yeah.
And thinking, let's get to bed. We get in the room, they pull out a guitar, and we start jamming for 2 hours.
Nice.
Oh,
And I'm
amazing.
thinking, I want to go to sleep.
Oh, no.
But the next day, Ken did take me down to Great Smith Street to show me where I was reporting the next day and pointed the Treasury out to me.
Fair enough.
So that was good.
Yeah.
Right. So going back to my first day, I get the train down there, plenty of time, go up there. And the reason I mentioned Miss Bruce earlier, ironic, the welfare officer was called Miss Spruce.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
But you got confused between them two,
Bruce
did you?
is Spruce.
No.
I would have done.
She was a typical old-style civil servant. A lovely lady, because she'd been in the welfare game. She had to be, didn't she? But she was a typical spinster, civil service all the time. So she gives me all the gen about the domestics, and she said, you're going to work in home finance. Oh, am I right? I don't know.
Yeah.
You'll hear what happens there in a minute. So she said, right, I'll take you over. Oh, one last thing, she said. And I made the most important decision of my whole career, and I can say that without fear or favour, in that moment. And that's telling you, and my whole career, as you'll hear, encompassed a lot of seniority and that. So how do you account for the thing that happened next being the most significant thing in your career?
Yeah,
How
go
can
on.
it be?
How?
But it was.
Go on, I'm intrigued.
I am.
So she said, there's no staff restaurant in the Treasury because they've got the Chancellor, the Chief Secretary, the Financial Secretary, and they don't want cooking smells permeating the corridors.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I didn't know what she was going to tell me.
Mm.
She said, so you're going to have to dine at, she gave me luncheon vouchers, by the way.
Nice.
Yeah, 2 and 6 penny luncheon vouchers. Yeah, you'll see how I got the best value out of those in a minute as well. So she said, you can dine either, and she pulls out 5 cards, which were Horse Ferry Road, the Board of Trade, Ministry of Pension and National Insurance, or whatever it was called, Colonial Office, and one other, and I can't think what the other was. Oh, Millbank, perhaps. Yeah, Millbank. So she said, you can dine in any of those which are in the immediate area. So thinking back to my choice of the Treasury as the department I wanted to work in, and thinking I'd got Foreign Office second and Colonial Office third, I'll go for the Colonial Office. It sounds posh.
Yeah, yeah.
I said, I'll take the Colonial Office, please. Oh, I'm glad you've chosen that, she said. I said, why's that, Miss Spruce? She said, look, gave me the card and she said, come to this window. And we looked out of the window into Great Smith Street. That's the Colonial Office over there, she said. You see the door there? You go in that door there, take the lift to the 3rd floor, and you're in the staff restaurant. I went, oh,
Perfect.
great, that was handy.
Yeah.
Perfect.
But the reason it was the most important decision in my life was 2 years later, a young 16-year-old girl who worked in Holborn for what was then called the Department of Scientific and Industrial Research. And I always chastised her for working in such a bloody place, because it changed its name 6 times while she was there, and she was doing the same job more or less. Anyway, that's by the way. She said, get a proper department like the Treasury. Was moving from the offices in Holborn to Whitehall area. And they were stationed at Broadway buildings in St James's Park, which is round the corner from the Treasury. And she was given the same 5 choices as a staff restaurant, because they were in offices which were, in fact, I'm a big, and I mean big, spy man.
Oh.
Spy man?
Yeah, all about
like
spies
007?
and everything. Pardon?
Like James Bond?
No, I
007?
mean real life stuff like...
right.
Yeah, Burgess and McLean and all this. You'll see why.
Okay.
Because on my first day in the Treasury, the Profumo affair, have you heard of that?
No.
Well, it was a spy scandal. And Lord Denning, the Master of the Rolls at the time, was starting the hearing in our building the day I started.
Wow.
So suddenly I'm seeing people I've seen on telly. Like
Wow, that's incredible.
Christine Keeley, have you heard of her?
No.
No. We're going to look these up though, Gerry.
Mandy Rice Davis were suddenly arriving, and I thought, flipping heck, I've just seen them on telly,
Wow,
which,
yeah.
because I'm only young. So she's told 5 choices. Where do you want to dine?
Colonial.
Thank God, she says, the Colonial Office.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is 2 years on.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was good. That was the decision. So over to the treasury I go, and she takes me up to my office, and I'm frightened to death. Absolutely petrified.
Why?
Because I'm a schoolboy. I've never done anything like this. The jobs I've had haven't been this kind of thing. They've
Yeah,
been,
yeah.
So, and people are shouting things around, and I'm thinking, oh, I wonder what that is. And they take me to the boss of the supervisor of the department, and he sits me down, has a chat with me, and then he says to me, you'll be working on the IMF, right? Now, I might as well have said the XYZ, the...
I've not got a clue what that is either.
No.
I had no idea.
No.
I'm working on the IMF, I don't even know what it is.
Yeah.
But I thought, I daren't say what
No,
is it.
I wouldn't.
No.
Just
Just
go,
nod
yeah?
and grin.
No.
Nod and grin.
Not on my first day.
No.
No.
So, you're working on the IMF? And I'm sat there thinking, IMF? Never heard of it. I haven't a clue what it is. I soon found out.
Go on, what is it?
International Monetary Fund.
Okay.
Yeah, International Monetary Fund. And the first file I made out, I can remember it well, because it came back to bite me years later when I'm back up here, and Greece were in financial difficulties and were appealing to the IMF for money. And the first file I made out was IMF negotiations with Greece. 2F 275. Can't remember the number for Greece. 01.
Wow.
Yeah, can't remember the middle
Honestly,
number.
you've got a better memory than me when
Yeah.
I was 21.
Can't remember.
I'm
can't
going to dream
remember
of that memory.
Yeah.
No. Anyway, so I'm working on the IMF. So that was my first day there. Now, do you want me to jump ahead and
I wanna-
tell you about Linda?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
absolutely. Come on, let's find
Right.
out about Linda. I
Right.
really want to know.
Well, let me first of all say that the Colonial Office staff restaurant was, without a shadow of a doubt, the poshest staff restaurant
Nice.
I have ever dined in.
Honestly.
Great choice then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great
There was a
choice.
maitre d' at the door.
Wow. What is
Wow.
a maitre d'?
Like
The greeting.
A host.
Yeah.
Meet and greet kind of thing and
Yeah.
everything, yep. Who took you to your seat.
As well.
Nearly everybody in there were, bear in mind I'm saying this now as a 17-year-old, 50-year-old codgers,
Yeah.
you know. Yeah, they were, honestly, most
Yeah.
of them. There was no youngsters.
No.
No.
But you I felt out of place then.
Well, no, because I thought, in a way, but I thought, well, they've given me a pass to use it, so I'll use it.
Yeah.
And the good thing was, being a youngster, the waitresses, I got on fabulously with them, and they got on fabulously with me.
Yeah.
Because
yeah.
they had someone to relate to when they served me,
Yeah. Yeah.
you see. So much so, I got to know them all. Vicky, can you put extra sausage on me dinner today? And I'd get an extra sausage, I'd get extra scoops
You knew
of
what
ice
you were
cream or
doing.
everything.
I'm not surprised with them 2 briefcases full of love letters.
Suitcases, big
Suitcases,
suitcases.
yeah.
Yeah, I've just given my treasury briefcase to Deborah. I
Oh,
said,
yeah.
sell that if you want. Still got my card in and everything, and it's still got the treasury details. And
Yeah.
Wow.
if it's found, you've got to report it to the police and so
Wow.
on and so forth. Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah.
I've come to that, and I'll tell you about the spying then as well.
Yeah.
So,
Linda.
yeah, I use this restaurant for everything. 18 months down the line, and by this time, I'd had that one date with one girl.
Yes,
I never bothered
yeah.
asking any other girls for a date or anything. I just didn't
No.
bother. I thought I must be. Is it asexual or something? I'm not bothered, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, there was too much going on
Yeah.
for girls, really. I must admit. So I see this young lady. By this time, 2 years, 18 months on, young people were starting to get in there because the
Right.
civil service was changing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it changed significantly in my first 7 years there, between 63 and 70.
Mm.
It changed fairly significantly. There were younger people. You'll see in a minute when I tell you some of
Yeah.
the stories. And I know you'll probably think, nah, that didn't happen. I assure you, everything I'm going to tell you happened. I've
Wow.
told Vicky I was mischievous, and everything I'm going to tell you happened. Honest. I'll be careful because I don't want to say too much that anybody sees it and think, bloody hell, I didn't know
Yeah.
that kind of thing went on there or whatever.
No.
So, see this young lady across the other side of the room.
Mm.
And I look at her. By this time, incidentally, let me add, my mum and dad separated for a very short time when I was at school. Not long, because my dad had been with my mum since she was 14.
Yeah.
And so it was just, they just had a fracas, and me and my mum got a flat. And, anyway, they were back together. And my dad was the stage manager at the Tower Company, i.e. with the Opera House, Grand Theatre, Winter Gardens, all that.
Yeah.
So, and my mum was working 2 jobs still, because my dad, in the early days, he sent me a couple of quid every now and again just to help me along, because I was only earning my first wage packet, and I'll bring it and show you. I've got the slip. It was handwritten because I'd not been there long enough to get into the system.
Yeah.
Was £8 for the 2. I think it was £8 for the 2 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah, and that included no income tax and a lodging allowance.
Wow.
Yeah. So my mum, I thought, she's killing herself doing all this work. Why does she need to do it now? I'm not there. So I decided I was going to get a flat, leave the hostel after 2 years or whatever. I'll get a flat. So I mentioned it to my mum. Oh, my mum panicked, thought, my God, I can't imagine him in a flat. Because I wasn't very useful or anything. I've had to learn that since Linda died, since Linda was take Neil. Yeah. So I said to my mum, I'm thinking of getting a flat. So, I'm not happy about that. So I said, as a throwaway, look, why don't you come down to London then, and we'll get a flat together?
Yeah.
And I'll get you a job in the Treasury, I said. She said, how can you do that? I said, well, I know it sounds silly, this. Even in that short time, because I was determined I was going to get to the top of this organisation, of all this. I'm not going to be a minion all my life.
Yeah.
Not that I was wanting the money.
No, you just had ambition.
Yeah, just
That's
my
the
own.
Aries in you, Gerry.
Yeah.
It is.
So I was well known. You'll see in a minute some of the things that happened because of that. So I said to my mum, yeah, I'll go and speak to establishments and I'll get you a job. You'll have to start at the basic grade, though, which was below me. You'll have to start as a clerical assistant. My mum said, I don't mind.
Oh.
So she said, I'll talk to your dad. Well, my dad wasn't too keen on leaving because he was not a big wheel, but well established there.
Yeah.
He only worked there full time because Bloomfield Bakery, where he was the manager and the owner just left him to it, sold it out and said to my dad, and I've sold it on the provision that you go with it. And my dad said, well, I'm sorry, but nobody sells me.
No.
Very true.
Yeah, my dad said, nobody sells me. My dad said, I will leave and I'll see if I get on at the Tower Company, and which he did. They took him on willingly because he was a worker, same as me. I've always worked hard. Even though I've played a lot, I've always, and my staff knew, yeah, Gerry's a great laugh, but don't cross him and don't get into doing anything wrong or whatever, I'll tell you a funny story about that later too. So I say to my mum, and anyway, cut long story short, they come down.
Yeah.
So we get a flat in Ealing.
Mm-hmm.
Lovely place.
Yeah.
Out west, which is significant when Linda's concerned in a minute. And we travelled in together, me and my mum, because she was working not in the same building, because she was in one of the outbuildings in Richmond Terrace, where JMW Turner or Canaletto painted a great Richmond Terrace, the Thames from Richmond Terrace. I always loved that picture. I've got it at home. So, I used to do overtime in there when I was a youngster. they had Saturday overtime and you had to go to Richmond Terrace and do it. And I used to think, well, I might as well learn a few more, Bob.
Well, yeah.
But then we started the football team and we went footballing. Anyway, but you only worked till 12 and off you went. And we travelled from Charing Cross by coach, so I was on the spot. Cut a long story short, I get my mum in, no problem. Yeah, we'll interview her first. I said, yeah, that's okay. I knew my mum was bright enough because she was in the accounts part at Hills and everything. And I thought she can do all this. And she was very good clerically. So I say to her on the train going home, I say, and this sounds a momentous thing to say, hey, Mum, I said, I've seen the girl I want to marry today. And my mum said, have you? I went, yeah. She said, what's her name? I said, I don't know. I've not spoken to her yet. And my mum went, well, how do you know you want to marry her? I said, Mum, I'm telling you, I know I want to marry her.
Wow.
So I thought, right, you may not think it, but I'm quite a shy person, really.
Mm-hmm.
I really am. I'm very insular. I'm quite shy. And when I told Linda that when I first date, she went, oh, no, you're not shy. I said, rest assured I am.
Yeah.
When I had my breakdown, she realised I was. Yeah, anyway, that's another story.
How did you know that you was going to marry her? What was it about her that you just thought, I want to marry that person?
Oh, yeah, it's simple. Yeah, it's simple. Not only was she attractive, she was an attractive girl. I admired her legs when she went, oh, she had nice legs as well.
Nice
that was a bonus, yeah. She's got nice legs, yeah. And she had that aura about her. I just knew. I honestly knew.
What was she doing, Gerry, when you saw her? Was she eating?
Dining.
She was just dining.
Because I can remember how she held a knife different than me. You know, that's interesting. She sat across the way, but I never spoke to her because I was shy.
Yeah.
And I thought, I'll build up to getting a date with her.
Ooh.
And it was Easter coming up, and it was that Easter that we went footballing on the continent. So I'm away for a couple of extra days. I'll tell you what, because they played a record on the coach all the time we were travelling to different grounds. Concrete and the clay. You won't know that. Concrete and the clay beneath my feet begin to tumble. Love will never die. That was on. It was number one for ages. Yeah. I've forgotten who made. Was it Unit 4+2? Yeah, I think it was. Might have been Unit 4+2.
Yeah.
So I'm away for an extra couple of days. Couldn't wait to get back to see her again. This was in the second week after I'd seen her and thought I want to marry her.
Yeah.
She's not there. I think we were only a couple of days because I'd been away like the Friday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Yeah.
And back on the Thursday. She didn't come in, and she dined with a friend every day, and she didn't come in. Oh no. I thought, what's going on here? I was devastated.
Yeah.
She didn't come in on the Friday. She didn't come in all the next week. Oh no. I was mortified. I thought, oh no, I've missed my opportunity now. On the Monday, she appeared again. It transpired she'd been away for Easter with her mum and dad down to the Isle of Sheppey.
Yeah.
Where her uncle had a caravan. So she comes in on the Monday. So I thought, right, I'm going to have to do something now.
This is it.
Otherwise she might disappear again. So she sat, there's a couple of tables in between us and the fogies are all around, you know. And, but I sort of me-mode like, and I went, how about a date? You see? And she was only, was she 17 then? Yeah, she just turned 17.
Right.
Because it was April.
Right.
1965. She'd just turned 17. And she went, I don't know what you're saying. I thought, well, I can't get up and walk over there and say, how about a date? Because A, her friend's there, and B, everyone else would be looking at me. So I tried it a couple of times during the week. And I even spoke to her one day because the restaurant was, imagine it was that desk, that's the restaurant, a massive, big place. And along here was a coffee bar, and you came out of the middle of the restaurant into this coffee bar. So imagine this room, a lot longer, the coffee bar. The coffee bar's up there, the exit's down here. The entrance to it's there in the middle.
Right.
So I knew if I want to catch her,
I've
got to sit this side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tactics.
Yeah. So this particular day, I thought, well, I'll leave at the same time, see if I get an opportunity. So, and it was raining. We get in the lift together. I still don't speak. So Linda says, I didn't know her name or anything at this time. She says to the girl with her, Dorothy, who I know now very well, she said, it's raining out, Dorothy. Have we got our umbrellas? Dorothy said, yeah. As we got to the door, I said, may I borrow your umbrella, please? You see? And they laughed and I laughed.
Yeah.
And off we went. And as we went out of the door to Great Smith Street, we went along Great Smith Street towards the Abbey, and they turned off at Abbey Orchard Street because their office, while the Treasury was here, their office was down there.
Right.
So a shortcut, instead of going all the way where I went to Whitehall and then down there, they cut through. So they went there. And as we were going, I happened to look back at her, probably to admire her.
Yeah.
And she just happened to be looking my way.
Oh.
So I cheekily went and waved. She waved back. And I thought, oh, that's encouraging. Apparently, Dorothy said to her, what are you doing? And Linda said, I'm just waving to that chap over there, you know. And Dorothy said to her, you don't wave to strange people like that. You don't know him, you know.
Yeah.
So carry on. Friday comes and I thought, I've got to do it today. It's got to be done today. And she brought a different friend with her. She brought a black girl with her who I got to know. She brought a black girl with her. Lovely girl. And they're dining away. And I thought, no point in me going across because she'll just ignore me. So I thought, right, finish your dinner quick and get out there. So I finished my dinner and I get out. By the way, when I'm paying for my dinner, I give them my lunch voucher for 2 and 6 and add threepence or whatever. And I've had like double portions. Fantastic. So I get out and I sit in this half. They came out. I can't remember the girl's name that was with her. And I knew her very well. So I let her go past and I stood up then and stopped Linda getting.
Oh, yeah, this is it.
Yeah, I stopped her.
Big moment.
Excuse me, I said, is there any chance of us having a date or whatever? And I did say that because her answer was, but I don't know you, she said. And I simply said, no, but you soon will.
Hey.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hey.
I'd got a bit of courage then. I thought, right, I'm going to take control here or else. So she went, yes, okay. I said, tonight?
Wow.
So she said, yeah. So I went, all right, where shall I meet you? And she said something that she might as well have said Timbuktu.
You're so excited.
I thought, I'm not showing myself up and saying, where's that?
No.
Because she might go, oh, below it if you don't know where anything is.
Yeah.
So she said, Bethnal Green Tube Station.
I know Bethnal Green, yeah.
I thought, I wonder where that is. Anyway, I was walking on air. I thought, hey, great, I've cracked it. I've got, mind you don't know it's going to come to anything, do you?
No.
So back to the office I go, right, see you tonight, 7 o'clock. Yep, great. Go back to the office. Chap called Mike Berryman worked opposite me. He was a Manchester lad, funnily enough. And him and I got on really well. And I knew he had the same lunchtime to me. So when I got back, he'd be there. Mike, you've been in London quite a while. Where's Bethnal Green? And he said, Bethnal Green? You don't want to go there, Gerry. What the heck have you asked me that for? I said, why not? He said, it's Cray country. He said, the Crays operate from there.
Oh, wow.
We were married at the church that the last Cray was buried at. Yeah. I said, I've got to go. He said, you don't want to go there. He said, it's poor run down, or he said, all gangsters and everything. I said, look, Mike, I have got to go there.
Yeah.
Where is it?
Yeah.
So we got a tube map out, looked at the tube maps on the Central line. Yeah, right, okay, I'll go to Trafalgar Square, get a Bakerloo line to there, and then on the Central line to Bethnal Green. Yep, no problem. Now, we had a system in the Treasury, in the branch I worked in at the time, where you did a late night a week. Nobody wanted to do Friday.
No, I can imagine.
This night, I live in Ealing, which is right out in the west, Bethnal Green, right out in the east. It's like living here and dating someone from Preston. Now, if I'd lived here and chatted a girl up and she said she lived in Preston, I'd have thought, forget that.
Yeah.
But because that's London and this is London,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I
And it
knew
doesn't
this was the
choose.
girl I wanted to marry.
This is it, yeah.
So I went to the late duty person and I said, look, are you bothered about working? I'm blazes. He said, I don't want to work late. Go early, take my spot early, I'll work late. Why? Oh, I said, I'm going somewhere and I don't need to travel back west and then go back east. I said, so I'm quite happy. Significant, this. So I work late, 6 o'clock I finish, and I thought, well, I don't know how long it is to Bethnal Green because I've never been there in my life.
No.
So I don't know how long it is. I'll get there in plenty of time. I'll go out of the door. I walk up Whitehall to go to Trafalgar Square, and a lady called Margaret Hardy, remember her well. She stood at the bus stop outside Horse Guards Parade. And I found the culture very different in London to what I knew. Because, for instance, just to give you a simple example,
Yeah.
I said, what time's dinner? One day, early on. And they went, 8 o'clock tonight. Why? No, I said, dinner. He said, yeah, 8 o'clock tonight. Oh, I said, I thought it'd be about 5 or about 12 or something like that. He went, no, that's not dinner, that's lunch. I said, oh.
Yeah, we call it the same thing, don't we?
We do.
We call it the same
Yeah,
thing.
I said, well, for me, you see, I said it's breakfast, dinner, and tea.
Yeah, exactly.
I said,
That's the northern way.
correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. They went, oh, and they used to tease me and say, hey, lad, make us a cup of tea. I didn't make the tea, but they said, make us a cup of tea, lad, you know. And I used to bristle and go, I don't speak like that. Because we don't have that strong an accent in Blackpool, do we?
No, we were talking about that,
No.
weren't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't, do we?
No.
Not like
No.
the East Lancastrians and that.
No.
So I'm walking up Whitehall. I can see her now.
Oh.
She stood at the bus stop and she said something that was foreign to me, really. I knew it by then because I'd been there 18 months or more. She said, have a nice weekend. Now, nobody said have a nice weekend in the 60s up here.
No.
Nobody said have a nice day today or any of that.
No.
None of it. But I knew now that was the things they said.
Yeah.
So she said, and I said, obvious answer from the situation I'm in, oh, I'm sure I will. I said, I'm meeting a young lady, you see. I don't think I knew Linda's name then either. I don't think she told me her name. So I said, I'm meeting a young lady. She said, where? I said, Bethnal Green. And her eyes rolled. She went, honestly, oh, best of luck. I hope you have a nice time. I said, oh, I'm sure I will. Anyway, off I go to Bethnal Green. And 7 o'clock, Linda arrived, which was surprising because she wasn't always on time. Deborah has always wondered why in our photograph collection there's a photograph of the clock on Big Ben showing 2:10 or whatever.
All the time?
No, yeah, you saw it stationary there. It's just a shot.
Yeah.
2:10. And Deborah, when I told her fairly recently, why it was there, Dad, she said, I've always wondered all my life, why has my dad taken a photograph of that clock? And I said, I'll tell you why. Because your mum was always blasted late and I was showing her that I was here, you know.
Evidence.
Yeah. So Linda turns up. She wore a pink twin set.
Nice.
What colour?
Oh, come on.
Pink.
Oh, wow.
Pink, yeah.
Sorry, I missed that bit.
Pink. So, introduces, Linda, Gerry, right. She swears to the day she died. She swore, and I'll bring you a copy of what I said at her funeral because I spoke at her funeral.
Yeah.
I felt I had to speak at her funeral. 250 people turned up. much to
Wow.
my astonishment.
Wow.
And when the vicar said, Gerry wants to say a few words, I thought, do I? In front of all these, And I thought, yes, of
Yeah.
course I do.
Yeah.
And I'd never written a word down because I don't like notes.
No.
So I spoke on the way out, shaking hands with people. Thanks for coming. And I'm so sad, but shaking hands, you've got to
Yeah.
make the best of it.
Mm.
And a dozen or so of them said, could I have a copy of your what you said, please?
Oh,
Because
wow.
it was so touching. It was so funny. People were cracking up laughing.
Oh, Gerry.
Especially
yeah.
when I tell you this first story, because I started with that, because there was a lot of my footballing mates there who knew Linda as well, because
Yeah,
we've been to
yeah.
functions and that. And I didn't know how I was going to start it. I'd been thinking about that, and I thought, don't know how I'm going to start it, but something will come into my head.
Yeah.
And the vicar said, opening remarks, we're here to celebrate the life of Linda, not to mourn her.
Mm-hmm.
So that immediately went into my head, thought, there's me opening.
Yeah.
As Chris said, because I knew the vicar, we're here to celebrate, so let's do that.
Yeah.
And I said, I'll start by telling you that Linda swears that the first things I said to her were, the first words I said to her were, are you interested in sport? The short answer from Linda at that point in time was no. If she swore, she'd say, am I buggery?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She very rarely swore.
Did you say that to her though? Did you say that your first? You remember saying it?
I tried to convince everybody there that I didn't. I
Right.
said, those of you here who know me, and they all did, I went,
Yeah.
would know I wouldn't say a thing like that. Well, they knew because they played tennis, cricket,
Yeah.
football,
Yeah.
badminton, squash
Yeah.
with me. Yeah, so they knew.
Yeah, and I bet you was that nervous as well.
I probably did say it, but
Yeah.
I don't think I opened with it.
No.
I might have done.
Yeah, who
I
knows?
might have done. I can remember where she said it.
Yeah.
We got to the platform by then, and we waited for the train to come. And that's when we first started speaking, having
Right.
been said we're Gerry and Linda, Yep.
What did you do for your first date then?
I'm going to tell you,
Oh, is this it?
because this is different. We got out of the train at Trafalgar Square. Shall we go to the pictures? We decided on the way, let's go to, well, what else did you, because I didn't drink. I didn't know Linda. She did drink, but she didn't go in pubs. I think the main reason being her mum and dad were clubbers.
Right.
And they loved going in for a drink, and she had to
Social,
stand
yeah.
outside and all this kind of thing. So when I look back on it, perhaps she liked me a bit more because I didn't do that.
Yeah, definitely.
Because I never went in a pub.
Mm.
I mean, I've waited outside the wrong pub in Blackpool when I've been playing football in my later times.
Yeah.
Because we changed the venue because they were decorating the other one we were
Right.
at. I'm stood outside the wrong pub thinking, where's the lads? There's nobody here. It's 8:10 now. There's nobody here. And I looked up and I thought, oh, I'm outside the wrong place. I stood outside the Saddle. I should have been at the Boar's Head. And I didn't know where the Boar's Head was.
Yeah, because you don't
I
know
thought
pubs.
that was it. I thought
Yeah.
that was the Boar's Head.
Yeah.
And when I
yeah.
looked up, so it was the Saddle. Well, where's the Boar's Head? Anyway, a bloke came out of the pub and I said, excuse me, mate, can you tell me where the Boar's Head is? He said, yeah, it's just up Preston Old Road there. So I went, right. And I ran up and I got into trouble for being late to the meeting. I said I'd been stood outside the wrong place for, well, that made them laugh and I
Yeah.
got away with it.
Yeah.
Because if you were late, you were
Oh,
reprimanded
yeah, you
and
can't
you
be.
didn't play this week or whatever, if you didn't turn up particularly. Yeah. So we get to Trafalgar Square. Right, let's try the Odeon, Leicester Square. Yeah, so we go to the, don't really fancy that. I can't remember what was on. No.
No.
We went to 2 or 3 cinemas.
Mm.
Yeah, don't fancy that.
Well.
So both of us, and she was the same. She went, no, I'm not that bothered, She was a little bit shy as well. So I said, well, we'll have a walk by the Thames.
Yeah.
So we spent 4 hours walking, well, 3.5 anyway, because she had to be in by 11.
Mm.
And Mum said, you must be on by 11. Yeah. So we spent 3.5 hours. And we sat in Victoria Gardens and listened to a band. Fortunately, it was a pleasant evening. It was the 30th of April, 1965. I know that because Linda wrote it in an address book that we'd got later on. She
The
put
first date. Yeah.
engagement, marriage,
Wow.
Yeah. And I didn't realise we'd be, so we walk, and it was the best thing you could possibly have done.
Yeah.
Because by the end of that night, to answer your earlier question, How did you know you wanted to marry her? Well, I knew full well by then.
Yeah,
I bet.
I knew full well by then.
No.
I thought, crikey.
Yeah. And you wouldn't have been sat in a dark cinema and not speaking.
No,
No, that's it, isn't
Yeah.
it?
We spent
That's
the
the
whole
difference.
night talking, yeah.
That's it.
Telling each other stories and things, yeah. What I didn't realise was the next day, and at that time, I'm not interested in football now. I've played it for 35 years or whatever. I'm not interested now, funnily enough. But it was the cup final. And me and my dad always watched the cup final. So Linda and I had arranged to meet at 5 o'clock or whatever.
Yeah.
At Westminster, being halfway between the two. I didn't want to travel all the way east and then come back.
No.
So we met there regularly. I did take her home for the first number of dates and then run like mad down Bethnal Green Road to get the last train back up west. Because if you missed it,
Oh, yeah, that's it.
you were up the creek, stuck down there.
Yeah.
So, I learnt a lot walking around. We walked around Bethnal Green and she showed me all their flipping heck. Tailors working out of the front room of their house
Houses.
with
Wow.
the door open, and a window, a French door made so they could sit and see, and people go in order there.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Different times back then.
Yeah,
weren't
it was
You'd
incredible.
never get that. Was she from London?
Oh,
then?
she's an East End girl through
Oh,
and
is
through.
So she had the
Ah.
Cockney accent?
No,
Oh, she didn't?
No.
her
Ah.
mum and dad had the most out and out
Yeah.
Cockney accent you could have.
Yeah.
Linda didn't. She had a London accent,
Yeah, but it
but
was.
she did not have that. I don't dislike the Cockney accent at all. It's a bit abrasive at times, isn't it? She didn't have
So she
that.
didn't have a strong one?
No.
No.
She didn't. No, she was obviously a southern girl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although my friends up here eventually said, she's very northern, your Linda, isn't she? And I said, is she blazes? I said, let me ask you a question. He said, what? These lads said, what? I said, when did you last have a bath? When did you last sit on the grass? Come on, listen to her.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So let me ask you a question. So obviously, the moment you met Linda, you knew.
I did.
What did she say about when she first met you?
That's a good one.
It is a very good question because I don't really know. We never discussed it.
Oh, you're joking.
No. I told her my side of it.
Yeah.
But she never replied and said, yeah, I knew the same. I thought the same.
Well, she
But
must have known.
put it like this. The following Saturday, because the first Saturday was cup final. And I said to my dad, and there was extra time. There was extra time, and I said to my dad, I'm going to miss it all. I've got to go. Why? I said, I'm meeting Linda at 5 o'clock at Westminster.
Wow.
I said, it's half an hour up there, so I'll have to miss the last half hour. And, Anyway, I didn't mind, really.
No.
It was worth it for that.
That's it.
But the following Saturday, Linda was out on an office trip to Southend on a boat down the Thames. And she said to me, I think on the first Saturday, she said, I won't be able to see you next Saturday. So I thought, that's promising. She's suggesting we might be meeting next Saturday. So she said, because I'm on an office outing down to Southend, would you like to come?
Wow.
And I went, oh, yeah, I'd love to.
Oh, I love
I
that.
thought, I'd love to. Well, I've got a photo. I'll bring it next time
Yeah.
if we do it
Yeah,
anymore.
no, definitely.
I've got a photo of us sat at the Kersal in Southend, the amusement park, with her head on my shoulders.
Oh,
That's only a week, 2 weeks into the
to get dating.
together,
Courting.
yeah.
Wow.
I think fairly quickly she must have made her mind up because there was never any hesitation or whatever.
So did you and Linda move back to Blackpool then together?
Oh, that's much down the line.
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah. So how long was you courting for before you decided to marry her?
First date, 30th of April 1965.
Yeah.
Bear in mind, even when we got married, I had to get a letter from her mum and dad to give to the vicar to say that they gave their permission
Wow.
for her to get married because she wasn't 21.
Right.
That was the rule in those days.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because she was only just 17 when I met her.
Okay. And you was what, 18, 19?
What would I be? 65. 19. I
Right,
was
yeah.
19. She's just 17. Yeah, she was 2 years younger. She'd be 77 now. God bless you.
Yeah.
77. That reminds me, I'm 79. Yeah.
A young 79.
Yeah.
Yes,
79.
very young,
So-
79.
A great night, great experience, and we married on the 24th of February 1968. Yeah, it snowed. I remember that.
That's
It snowed.
gorgeous.
People from Blackpool came down to the wedding, and we hired a coach to take them from Ealing to East London. Otherwise, they would never have found it.
No.
You know, yeah. So, yeah. So it was. We did actually go on holiday, and I think this must have been 1966. We went on holiday because we got engaged on.
How did you propose, Gerry?
I just
Go on.
asked her.
Was it just a...
One knee?
No.
No?
Where were you?
I don't think so. I do remember where we were. Putney High Street.
Right, okay.
Right.
Yeah, Putney High Street. I remember that.
And did you have the ring in your pocket?
No.
No
No,
ring.
because she might have said no.
She didn't get a ring?
She might. Oh yeah, but
Oh, right.
No.
only
till
when we'd
after.
agreed
Oh,
Yeah.
right.
get married. Yeah, I wasn't spending money on a ring to find. She goes, "You can bugger off." Or so. Yeah, no.
No.
We Putney High Street. I remember that. And it must have been, it was in the cricket season because I'd just seen John Hampshire get 100 in the Lord's Test in a shop window.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah. And
In
I
the shop
thought,
window?
yeah, television
the
shops
TVs were in
showed
the shop
Oh,
windows.
right.
Yeah.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
they were
Yeah.
advertising their sales then.
Yeah.
You
They
know?
weren't
Yeah.
playing cricket in the shop.
No, that's what I was like. What am I missing?
Yeah, so, that's where we... but we went on holiday that year, so it must have been after that date. No, it must have been before that date that we went on holiday to Cornwall. And we told the lady, we were staying in a farmhouse, we had separate rooms and never cohabited or anything. And we told the lady we were engaged. And she'd no ring at that time because the ring we'd chosen needed altering.
Ah, okay, right.
Yeah, we bought it in Beaverbrooks on Westminster Bridge Road,
Right.
right off the bridge there, opposite the Treasury. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Amazing.
I've always had that philosophy. It's got to be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. I share that sentiment as
Yeah.
well. Like, you'll know it better than anyone, but life's so short that it's so short you can't spend it doing something that you don't enjoy.
No,
Like,
no.
you blink and then 20 years have passed. And I say this to my kids now, and I'm like,
Blink and
make
79
sure-
have gone by.
yeah,
Wow.
exactly that. And it's all relative to your own life, isn't
Yes,
it?
it is.
But I say it to my kids now who are just, my daughter's 21. She's just about to start her journey of what she wants
Adulthood,
to
isn't
do.
it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's gone to university. She's done
Yeah.
photography, and now it's time. She's coming back home, and I say to her, just make sure you enjoy what you're doing.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'll support you fully in what you want to
Yeah,
do,
yeah.
as long as you love
I've
it.
been like that with Deborah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you have to love it.
That's why she's doing running her own business, because she's not keen in interacting with the public because she thinks,
Well, yeah, if you can do it without, then...
yeah.
Yeah, exactly
Yeah.
that. So let's just finish off. Obviously, you've asked your wife now, well, obviously to marry you. It wasn't probably the most romantic setting as what I thought it would be, but she said yes.
Let me just point out,
Yeah.
I've written about this because you see, there's another side to my life as well. It's all the writing and all
Yeah,
that.
that's what you want to learn
absolutely,
about as
yeah.
well.
Quite, I don't like to say interesting because I've done it and it's just one of those things. But
Yeah.
it's quite
is.
interesting.
Yeah.
And I've written about it. And Oscar Wilde,
Yes, I know
Yeah.
him.
he saw his wife, Constance, even though he was gay, and decided
Was he?
he
I didn't
wanted.
know that.
Did you not know?
No.
No.
Yeah.
So he saw his wife.
He saw his wife and decided straight away he wanted to marry her.
Wow.
Wow.
I didn't realise that at the time.
No.
I was going through it, obviously.
No,
Yeah, of
I
course.
found
no.
that out later.
Mm,
But interesting, because so it happens to other people as well.
Yeah.
But I just knew.
Did you know that with me?
Yes.
I don't know. No, I know genuinely. I never knew that instantly. I was like, I'm going to marry you, but I knew you were special.
Yeah.
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 Well, that's the start,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah,
Good
absolutely. Yeah,
answer.
I think that's all you can really ask for. I think something inside
Yeah.
you just knew
Did you
straight
know
away.
Same.
Vicky so you could speak to her before you decided?
Yeah, so obviously,
like I didn't even know Linda.
no, like
No.
I never even
Well, no.
spoke to her.
Oh, where we did, because we met online, you see. So we met
Yeah.
on a
Right.
dating thing. So
Yeah.
we were talking on our phones and obviously like through the phone calls and stuff. And then obviously we met face to face, but you don't know who you're gonna get really,
you
do
don't.
you?
No.
No,
So I was
you know.
very
No.
when he turned out,
yeah,
I was like, yes.
yeah. It's the
lovely.
same because I don't know if you know the phrase catfished, but
No.
basically, right. So basically, what it means is someone looks different in real life than they do on the photos
pictures.
online.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
They call you a
so
catfish.
They call you a catfish. So,
Oh, right. I didn't know that.
so I'd been on 2 dates prior to meeting Vicky, and they were both catfishes. So they were a lot different in real life than what the pictures were. So
Yeah.
I rocked up and I was like,
Who am I gonna get now?
Okay.
Yeah. Here's a third catfish.
Yeah, and literally my hopes were just down on the floor because I
Yes.
just thought,
Yeah.
here we go again.
Yeah.
And I just basically had no expectations. I just literally went into
Yeah.
it and you know what? We get on really well. And yeah, let's just go and have a good day. And yeah, I rocked up and then the pictures actually didn't even do her justice. She actually looked better in real life.
Why, thank
Oh,
you.
she's fantastic.
She's
Oh,
amazing, yeah.
thanks,
And,
Gerry.
I'm very, very lucky. Similar to how you
Oh,
probably
I was
felt.
lucky.
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
all lucky.
I'm so lucky.
Deborah says not. Deborah says no, it's fate.
Yeah, I believe in
Yeah,
fate, and I
I
also
believe in
believe.
that.
Deborah, when I always say to Deborah, wasn't I lucky meeting your mum? No,
Yeah,
it was fate. It was meant
100%
to happen.
fate.
Yeah, 100%.
From you
Yes.
telling that story of Linda just being there and you knew,
I did
like,
know.
and you picking that building as well when you had a
Yeah.
choice of
Yeah,
5.
yeah,
which
and she did.
and she did as well.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah.
It really
Exactly.
is.
Incidentally, I've had a catfish myself once.
Oh, yeah?
In the Treasury, I'm old enough to have phones in my office where you pick the phone up, an operator says to you, number please,
Yeah.
within the Treasury.
Yeah.
Right, we've got our own switchboard and everything. So you either say extension, whatever you want, or if you want an outside line, give them the number, you see. And that same girl kept answering sometimes. And so we got chatting,
Yeah.
because as I've said, this was in my early days when there weren't many youngsters there.
No,
No,
of course.
So I said, well, would you fancy a walk out lunchtime? We'll have a walk, Yeah. I've never heard of catfish before, but it was.
Catfishing.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Shame.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, Gerry, we've got, in my opinion, only halfway through this. So,
Yeah.
what I'd love to do is just invite you back
Yeah.
for part 2
You let me
because, I want to find out more about your wife, about your daughter, about everything to do with your life. And we've not even touched on your
And
career yet.
career.
No, my career, you'll be surprised. You probably won't believe some of it, but when I wanted to leave the Treasury, for instance, and I'll touch on it, they wouldn't let me go. I went, no. You're one of our rising stars.
Yeah.
You're a future permanent secretary. We've already marked you down. But I want to go home. I won't go on any further because it's a separate story.
Yeah.
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 It's a cliffhanger.
It
There
is
we
a
go.
cliffhanger.
People need to watch part 2 just for that part. But
It was a cliffhanger, and I had to use emotional blackmail to win the battle.
wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't even think I'd win it then, but eventually I did. And not that I was bothered, because I'm not a money person.
No.
I was prepared to throw my career away. I'm using their phrases to get home and start again at the bottom.
Wow.
But in the end, you'll see.
It all worked
Yeah,
out.
and it was working there, I must say, was fantastic. I loved every second of it. And I see people in town now who worked with me up here,
Yeah.
and they all say the same thing, I'm pleased to say. And Deborah's been told the same when she's met them and that. They've told her, oh, it was great working with your dad, And they all say, best time of my career when you were in charge there. That was fantastic.
Great
Amazing.
leader is what it is,
Yeah.
Gerry.
And they've got a website, National Savings, which I don't bother with. I don't do social media at all.
No.
But the lad who runs it used to play football with me, so he knows me very well. And he knows my views on all this, and no, I don't do that. He emailed me 2 years ago, Gerry, can you give us a few stories about your time at Warbrick Hill? Yeah, I suppose I could. So I did. Anyway, he was swamped with people responding and saying, I remember it well. And this, that, and the other. Yeah, so he was up for it for more.
Yeah.
And about 6 months ago, he wrote to me again. And I said, I ended it, my own fault. I ended up, there were lots more japes like this, in my time there kind of thing. So, of course, he went, hey, you mentioned there's lots more japes. Can we have some? Well, I've never done them, but I will do now. We've talked. I must, because there's loads more to tell them. And
it's so good to tell it as well, Gerry.
And I know all the people that, I can mention all the people that were involved.
Yeah.
Definitely.
It's exciting.
There. Yeah. I'm lucky there.
No, absolutely.
So I will do it. I'll do it in the next week or so.
Brilliant.
Get it done.
Brilliant. Okay, Gerry, well, we'll leave it there. Part 2 will be coming.
Right,
that was amazing. And I really appreciate you coming. I'm sure everyone will appreciate that.
Well, I'm not sure.
They will. They'll absolutely love it. Trust me.
I'm apprehensive, I'll be honest.
Yeah. Well, you'll be able to see it anyway when it airs.
You know what's most important, though? The most important thing is that we've enjoyed each other's company.
Oh,
we're not even
and that's all it is.
We're not even bothered about the rest of it. I've really loved it.
That's
I've
great.
loved being here and I enjoyed. I'm delighted you spoke to me and
yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah, I was pleased that day you spoke to me and I told Deborah, I said, hey, interesting. I said, I don't speak to many people there, which I don't, if you've noticed. I don't go round.
Yeah.
Get on with it. That's what we're there for.
Well, thank you.